Welcome back to Style Esports, the grand finals here of our Shurima division this evening between Asian Invasion and Apex Ways Moonlight. My name is Llama. Alongside me this evening is Potato on the cast and special guest alternative to help break down Pick Ban and give us some analysis on the desk afterwards. And speaking about Pick Ban, it is time for Pick Ban of game number one.
Yeah, it's a familiar matchup here tonight. We've seen these two teams go at it several times before, and so it is no surprise that this is going to be our two contenders here in the grand finals. And already, when we're looking at pick ban, these are some familiar bans coming out from both teams. Fiora has been consistently denied from Lulu Fei and Olaf Pike. These are champions that Apex Ways has played on their road to the grand finals.
Yeah, so going into this draft, after looking at both of these teams, it's very clear they both like to play a pretty standard drafting style with, a bruiser top, carrier early game jungle, mage mid, and then so on and so forth. But it's interesting because after looking at both these teams, there's not a lot of crossover um, or contested picks in the draft. Looks like these players play a lot of like unique champions, so that'll be interesting to see how this draft moves forward.
Yeah, and one of the unique champions that I do kind of find notice that they're really targeting Asian Invasion, taking away Apex Perry's Misfortune, something that they found success with against Mythic Esports here in a previous series. That's a very strong team as well. And so they say, we don't want to deal with that, like you said, without the cross pool. You can just deny what the enemy plays that's annoying, but it leaves some annoying stuff up here with, looks like a Nico's a first pick. I mean, this is one of those crowd picks we see at all levels of play, and at this highest level, not surprised to see that getting scooped up early.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
Nico looks like it's for a Hong Kong player. He's had success with it in the playoffs so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And Varus also coming in a classic pick for Apex Perry here. We've seen him have success on this pick in previous playoffs, and it looks like it is going to be that same comfort pick leading us off for tonight.
Yeah, nothing too kind of surprising, in game one of a best of five. You're really going to try to feel the other team out, see what priorities they're going to be looking to pick, what is going to become a problem. And a champion, as we see a Seraphine hovered and now locked in, that's going to be Asian Invasion's ADC, most likely Goach playing. We've seen a bot lane pairing of like a Seraphine mixed with a Sona or something like that. I mean, can play the double enchanter with Pika Pika, who also likes playing enchanters, could also be that player picking it up. So, I mean, look at this team fight that Asian Invasion has drafted already.
Yeah, a lot of very impactful ultimates here. And Seraphine has been a pick that's been banned away specifically from Gold multiple times in the previous series that they've played up to getting to the grand final. So I'll definitely have my eye on how this pick will perform tonight.
And the Oriana locked in for Apex Ways Moonlight. Pretty standard mage matchup in the mid lane. It looks like so they are gonna just kind of feel each other out this game one. See how the other team responds and how they need to play out the game from there.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, very much AoE still, right? Alternative, I'm thinking that with this Oriana locked in, like,
Oh yeah.
both of these teams have so much wombo combo drafted already. Yeah, maybe feeling them out in lane a little bit, but it feels like both these teams looking to just brawl around some team fight objectives maybe a little bit later on. That's what these first six picks are at least introducing to me.
Yeah, it looks like Asian Invasion's not shying away from the team fight. Apex Ways Moonlight has been very, very dominant in this entire season and playoffs run that they've had. So it's good to see that they're trying to go toe to toe with them in the team fight. And hopefully we get a nice, exciting series here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and looking at the second round of bans as well, we see some of these potential follow-up Ultimate Champions being denied here, the likes of the Malphite and the Rel, to maybe dampen that press R comp a little bit. But yeah, so far it does seem like both teams are going to be very team fight and ultimate dependent, as well as looking at Asian Invasion. I'm wondering if they might be a little heavy into magic damage so far. So those are things that I'm going to keep an eye out for how they might round out the rest of their draft.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, there is a lot of that heavy magic damage here, Potato, like you pointed out from Asian Invasion side. Nico still could potentially be a flex. I mean, I think Alternative was kind of thinking that as going mid, and I think that could be kind of that other control mage matchup there. But now, I mean, Apex Ways Moonlight expecting to pick their support. I would like to see some kind of engages tool as well, but instead saving their support actually to the last pick and trying to figure
Oh
out the
yeah.
Seraphine flex. Blinding Gangplank alternative. What do you think about that pick here on four?
I think the Gangplank is a very solid pick here. It plays into the team fight once again. It could also be a split push start depending on what the matchup is gonna be. As for the champion pool for Lulu Fei, I think they do have some good answers into the Gangplank, so we'll see how that blind pick turns out for him.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have that one trick Fiora, something that they got all the way
Right.
to Diamond 1 with, but I'm sure still some other options. And I mean, as we were thinking here, Potato, I called this out here, the Seraphine for Goach paired up with another enchanter for Pika Pika.
Oh, okay.
And look at that Scion as the answer. I mean, man, this 5v5, but critically, Asian Invasion in game one does not have a marksman on their team.
Yeah, no marksman and a bit of a lack of consistent DPS. I mean, I imagine they might be trying to just giga boost this Hecarim to run amok into the enemy team, but there's a lot of disruption tools that I can see potentially countering that. And
Yeah.
this GP pickup too, this is a pick that Dunk has had a lot of success on in the past. And
Ooh.
TK is
Wow.
going to be keeping their carry safe against any
Yes.
dive attempts.
You were naming about running amok there, Potato, as well. And remember, this isn't just a Hecarim running amok. This is Wolsher Garvin running amok here on this Hecarim pick. This has been the key playmaker for Asian Invasion squad. And he wasn't even in the semifinal match against Mythic Esports when they got the 2-1 victory. So, I mean, this is a player that was subbed out and the team still found success, but has been so critical in the success that this team has found throughout this whole playoff run. But yeah, like you said, this TK is the last pick. I mean, that makes a little bit less amok possible, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if there is any player that I trust to be able to rampage through the lines, though, it probably would be Wilshire Garvin. We've seen him on the likes of the Lisa and the Kha'Zix. He's a big favorite into picking these kind of aggressive, damage-oriented AD junglers. And so a lot is going to be on his back for this first game, and we'll have to see if he's able to deliver.
So alternative, we've seen all 10 champions now locked in. What do you kind of think synergistically now that we see these two teams here in game one? What are you looking for in terms of power spikes? When do these teams really come online? What are some of their win conditions we should be looking for on the cast in game one?
Yeah, so on first appearance of these two fully drafted teams, I think Apex Ways Moonlight has an advantage from my point of view here. They have pretty good power scaling throughout the entire game. I think the early game is going to be crucial for Asian Invasion. If they can get the Hecarim rolling, a Hecarim with a Lulu and a Seraphine behind him is just like we've been saying, gonna run amok. But yeah, Apex Ways Moonlight does have a lot of good ways to counter that. They have the Tom Kench to keep their carry safe, and we've seen Apex Moonlight carry from pretty much every role. They have really capable players, so if any of them get rolling as well, I'm kind of worried for Asian Invasion's somewhat lackluster consistent damage.
Yeah, so if we think about the first 14 minutes of this game, while tower plates are still up, what's going to be the lane that's going to have the most impact or the most potential to really set their team up for success? Where are your eyes going to be at these first 14 minutes?
For me, actually, a lot of these lanes, right? So Gangplank can play a pretty safe lane. I think Seraphine Lulu is also a fairly safe lane.
Yeah.
I think Orion and Nico is probably also can be played a safe lane. It'll be up to the players to see how aggressive they're going to be playing. But I think a lot of the game's early tempo is going to be completely dominated by the junglers and their decisions. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, gameplay for Scion, like, if we see a lot of action up there, I think something's gone terribly wrong for these top teams, both having scaling picks there. But like you mentioned, there's opportunity for safety. I mean, you named Tom Kench Potato here at the very end of that game, or end of this draft here at that 5th pick. That creates so much safety, along with a double enchanter bot lane. Like, that's not known to be a combination that's going to be able to just plow through the enemy. So, I mean, Potato, are you kind of on board here, or you think it's going to be kind of safe and these junglers dictating early game?
I do think that Asian Invasion does have more potential to make things happen in the early game. The Hecarim is a very fast, aggressive ganking jungler, and you have the setup in the lanes for that. You have Nico, Seraphine, even something like a Scion E-Catch, I think can be effective to get a gank going. Whereas if we look on the Apex Ways side, I mean, Wukong sure can try and match a counter, but you don't have as much active potential to sort of catch people out and make that happen. And Tom Kinch, even the safety that he offers, that only comes post 6. So I do think it is going to be up to Asian Invasion to try and make more things happen before people get the ultimates, before kind of Apex Way's perhaps better rounded team comp gets to come online.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right about these team comps coming online, Potato. This isn't going to be one player or one lane really impacting. I think both of these teams are really trying to play a cohesive team fight style. I think Dragons and Heralds are going to be key points of contention around these major neutral objectives. Which team is going to be setting up first? Which team is going to be approaching? Who's going to land the CC? And who's it going to land on? I think those are going to be some of those key pieces in this game that are really going to be determining what is going to happen on the Rift in game 1. Again, this is a long series. This is a best of 5. Anything can happen, but I'm liking to see what we've shaped up so far.
Yeah, absolutely. It should prove to be a great matchup here, and it's certainly a unique draft bringing us into this first game. So we'll have to see how the teams match up.
Yeah, so just on the other side of a short spectator delay, we're going to be getting into game number 1 of the Style Esports Grand Finals between Asian Invasion and Apex Moonlight. Alternative, thank you for joining us here. We will see you in the post-game analysis after game 1. We'll see if these safety picks do come into fruition, if the junglers are going to be able to take the lead, charge on through this game 1. And meanwhile, we're going to get set and settled for game 1. Get those channel points in. Let us know who you think is going to win game number 1. And we will be finding out ourselves on the Rift in just a moment. We'll see you soon. The prediction is still going, and the game has started. It is time for game number 1 here of the Shurima Division Grand Finals on Style Esports between Apex Ways Moonlight and Asian Invasion. No invasion happened in level 1 here, though, Potato.
No, both teams playing it nice and safe, coming out to a standard 5 point. Although immediately at the start of the game, I am drawn to a couple of the rune choices here. We have the Apex bot laners both taking Arcane Comet, actually. So maybe trying to contest some push here, trying to stay in lane as best as they can against the double range and very effective wave clear of the Seraphine.
Yeah, I mean, we said that this wasn't going to be like an all-in kind of bot lane here, but that doesn't mean there's not going to be some poke that lands. Even with a double enchanter bot lane, the only kind of sustain in this lane is going to be Goch's W on the Seraphine, right? Beyond that, like, yeah, you got some shields, but a lot of it's more kind of a utility-focused damage kit. So I am kind of surprised to see that here, that it's like, yeah, maybe just try to poke out the other champ a little bit in the bot lane.
Yeah, I'm not sure how effective that might be though, because I think Pika Pika probably will have the ability to react to the Varus poke, and I don't know how much you can rely on Tom Kinch Q Landy. And sure, your lane might be better, but there's a Scion on the enemy team, so who are they going to rely on to get through that giant hunk of HP?
Yeah, I mean, granted, there is quite a bit of armor shred, at least from Wukong, so that at least makes it a little bit easier. But you're right, hunk of HP is still a hunk of HP. And unless you have just someone that's doing a percent health, it can be a little more challenging. And I don't think Varus is going to be going that build here. So, yeah, you're right. It might be a little bit more challenging to find that early on. But, I mean, we'll like to see here with these junglers where they're going to be pathing. Both of them are going opposite and seem to be going for a full clear early on. So, yeah, I mean, already not dictating the pace too quickly, at least from the jungle perspective, with everyone just wanting to clear all their camps early on.
Yeah, that makes sense. Both of these junglers are going to be much more effective once they hit that level 6. Hecarim known to try and make that clear. Maybe find a gank or two where it's possible. But looks like
Oh.
Wondersy might be rushing on in. We do have the Abyssal Dive coming in from Apex Sky. The target is going to be Pika Pika here. Gonna flash on out to safety. Gank not found, but Summoner Spell is gained.
Yep, and I mean, that's a large cooldown. The disadvantage of having a double enchanter bot lane is you don't have mobility here. So Spy was not hesitant at all to look for that W in. And when you use that Abyssal Dive and can jump onto that backline, now you have another Lulu that not only is immobile, but now doesn't have flash either. So that could be pretty devastating if Wukong does return a gank here. Pika Pika wanting to successfully try to ward out for that a little bit, getting a thing there. And now Dunk might be under pressure topside, but does flash.
Yeah, Dunk flashing early there, but there's
Is
a
it enough?
decimating smash. It's going to start decimating him. The flash follow from Lulu Faye, and it's going to be first blood going to Scion.
First blood has been drawn in this first game of our grand finals, and it is on the backs of Lulu Faye picking up that first kill. Wilshire Garvin, not only did they get a flash, but they also got a kill in that first gank. And this is that pony that might start to get a little bit stronger here. I'm not saying they're running amok quite yet here, but we'll see if a muck can happen.
Yeah, they are certainly on the path to muckening with that successful first play. Now going to take a reset, be right on time for the respawn of their second set of camps. A very successful early game here for Garvin.
Yeah, I mean, and not only was it just a great gank, it was also a great gank timer. 28 farm plus that scuttle gets them to 32. So that's all 6 of your camps. And that was back to the second sequence. So just really good timing as well at 4:30 in and getting onto your second rotation. Like, that's everything you can want and more as a Hecarim in this early game. Just sequencing up quickly and getting back on the map after a reset. Did not go for the tier 2 boots as we sometimes see, but instead starting that tier stack along with tier 1s and a longsword. I mean, such a great position. And now Wilshire Garvin, even though Lulu's not here, might be looking for something in the bot lane. He's going to be patient, waiting around. Oh, and there's the Abyssal Dive in. This might be the timer.
Yep, going on in against Gulch there, using the flash early, but here comes Garvin charging in. They want parry. The heal is burned. The flash is burned as well. The Seraphine is looking to catch out Spy. Now, Lulu on the chase, trying to finish off parry, but there's not quite enough damage. The focus goes on to Spy, but there is a lot of gray health available here, and it looks like they don't quite have enough to finish. The Tom Kinch is very durable, and it's just going to be 2 summoner spells in trade.
Yeah, we're noticing another little bit of a downside here, Potato, of having a double enchanter bot lane is you just don't got the damage, right? Like that is a challenge here. Even though the resets come through, it was not anything spectacular, right? Just like a mana crystal for Goach, but they just don't have damage, right? Like Seraphine, especially now without items, is just not going to be able to shred through the tankiness that is this catfish spy in the bot lane. And even though Garvin was there, nothing there. But now Hong Kong player caught out in low mana is level 6, but doesn't have enough for the ultimate. There it is now.
Yep, will catch out the Wukong there, but the rest of the team is a little bit further away. It is going to be Wonder Z rooted here, and Garvin's on the chase, forced to flash over the wall and disengage here. Spy is going to hang around on the backside, but they likely won't have enough numbers to finish this or to walk in and properly contest the dragon. It's a nice catch from Nico here. One more hit on Wonder Z will do it. It is Hong Kong player on the chase, but looks like the Wukong is going to get out safely for now. Vongola fam now collapsing. Is Nico still on? Mana has just enough for one more root. A two-man dive from Spy there. Hong Kong player is going to go down. A big two-man shockwave is going to follow that. The cannon barrage is layered on Apex. Perry gets the snipe over from the wall, and what was looking like a great set of plays for Asian Invasion is turned right around by Apex.
Yeah, Hong Kong player maybe biting off more than they could chew, was looking for Vongola fam, even landed the Tangle Barb, but not enough damage to secure it. And Potato, so far, that's been enough, the kind of the story of these first 7 minutes, that Asian Invasion is finding good plays, but the key piece is not enough damage to bring these health bars all the way to 0.
Yeah, and some of these fights have also just been a little awkward, right? I mean, we had a Hong Kong player there on virtually no mana throughout the entirety of that fight. It looked like neither team was entirely sure about kind of when they were going to commit all their members. So we might end up seeing some better fights in a little bit once we get the teams together a bit more, once they're all going to be committed. But for now, yeah, you're right. It was a little disjointed, and it does mean that Apex gets a bit of an advantage.
Yep, and that advantage, I mean, does result in at least some pressure and some priority, as well as 500 gold, but no dragon slain quite yet. For that Infernal is still standing up on the Rift, and now Herald is going to be spawning in just a matter of seconds too. So now teams are going to have to posture around which objective they're really wanting to try to focus on early on. Typically, Herald's going to be great for plates, but both teams seeming to position around this dragon timer, and now Spy forced to try to get out, but Polymorph.
Oh, yeah, a nice interrupt on the Abyssal Dive, and there is the devastating charge coming on through Wilshire Garvin, getting to that level 6 in time. Wonder Z forced out of his own jungle, and that's 3 members heading on towards this Drake.
At level 6 for Wilshire Garvin, able to make that first play happen. Spy was still level 4. I mean, as bot lane for both these sides, just parry at that level 6 Spy here. But yeah, I mean, did have to commit the Onslaught of Shadows, but got it. And now Pika Pika, unafraid of Wonder Z here. Spy is back. But look at this, Asian Invasion wanting to invade here this second blue buff rotation, while Wilshire Garvin's taking the blue buffs, or taking the dragon. So across the board, just another victory here for Asian Invasion.
Yeah, Mongolia fan might find out Hong Kong player now. It's going to be caught in between everybody. No flash available.
Flash.
It does use the ultimate, but it's going to go down surely here. It's donated over to Perry, so that's a nice little pickup. We did have Apex collapsing in time, and it's at least 1 kill traded back.
Yeah, but stayed around just a little bit too long. It felt like their Potato as well. I mean, feels like Hong Kong player looking for some aggressive plays, in fact. But after the team disengages after that time, we're just going to be a little bit more aware, I think. I'm currently sitting 0-2-0 here on this mid lane, and primarily because of some oversteps it looks like has been causing their demise so far in this first game.
Yeah, overall, just slightly caught in the wrong spot a few times, but there's plenty of game left to play to amend for those mistakes. It's a fairly close one still, just 600 gold separating these two teams. And it looks like Apex might be looking around the Rift Herald.
This is now with Spy moving up numbers here first for Apex Ways. Wilshire Garvin is forced to use the flash out now. Vongola fam maybe have rotated the wrong way now. Hong Kong players here but doesn't have ultimate.
Yeah, caught it again, and there's the shockwave catching out the Nico. Lulu Fei is going to be finding himself in the middle of 3 players, forced to flash away to disengage. It is Apex finding another pick in the jungle, and that means they're going to be headed straight to the Rift Herald.
Yeah, I don't think that Asian Invasion knew just how many members were up here. I don't think it was communicated that Spy had moved for this play. So unfortunately, Pika Pika was not able to match that. And then just with the numbers disadvantage around that, it gave Apex Waves Moonlight the opportunity to establish vision first, to push out Asian Invasion. And when they weren't all the way pushed out, they just took their lives instead. So maybe a little bit of disrespect there from Asian Invasion, thinking that they could do more than they were capable of here. But again, I mean, with the gold lead being close, it's still not that big of an impact. The biggest reason now is just where is this Rift Herald going to be dropped by Wonder Z to try to crack a couple more plates and try to just push this gold lead further that the Rift Herald is so powerful at doing for your team.
Yeah, and the benefit is that so far these kills have not resulted in too much conversion in terms of objective. Most of the plates on the map are still up. Sure, you got the Herald, but we'll have to see how that's used. But wait on that one as the flash is expended from Perry to get away from Garvin. But a nice catch straight onto Spy. That's
Did the
gonna
damage?
HP going down. Just needs one more hit, but the great help is so much. But there's the flash forward, and Perry can trade back here effectively, maybe. No, it is going to be too much sustain. The lethality Varus did not have enough in the tank. All of the abilities on cooldown. That does mean everyone from Asian Invasion gets out scot-free.
Yeah, did have to burn all 4 summoner spells from Asian Invasion to get that kill. Spy and Perry only had to use the heal and flash respectively. Granted, I think it was a good play from Garvin to switch on to Spy, and I was worried that there wasn't going to be enough damage against Potato, but the flash forwards did secure that kill on the bot laner. And Spy was not level 6 yet either, as Pika Pika is not themselves. So I mean, before those level 6 timers come in, we named that these are teams that need level 6s to be successful, specifically Tom Kench. And without that key ultimate ability available, caused their second death of this game.
Yeah, and both of these supports are a little bit under-leveled currently. They have been making great things happen on the map, but they do want to hit those 6s as soon as possible. Perry now level 8, while his support is still sitting on 5. Goach matching on the other side, level 7, so only slightly behind there. But we'll have a little bit of a reprieve. We do have another Dragon coming up in a minute, so we'll see if these supports are able to hit their level breakpoints by then.
Yeah, level breakpoints are also pretty synonymous with item breakpoints as well, especially as we think about these next Dragon contests. Will Seraphine have their completed? Looks like maybe a... oh, don't time to talk about items. Pika Pika's in trouble.
Yeah, Cannon Barrage goes on down. It is Wild Growth used there. They did get it, but it is not enough. Wonder Z looking for more chase flashes for Cyclone 2. Hong Kong player doesn't even have the time to let the Nika ultimate go off before falling on down. It's 20 seconds on the respawn here. The Dragon is coming up in 29, so there could be a chance for Asian Invasion to come on back, TP to the play, maybe still look to contest, but for now it's going to be Herald dropped in the mid lane, 2 kills picked up, and Apex still looking good here in the early game.
They absolutely are, and this is where the plates are going to be used for Vongola fam, picking up another 3 plates off of that. You're right, Hong Kong player has their own ultimate available, but with that timer of dropping Rift Herald mid, you're now seeing that Vongola fam and Wonder Z are opting to reset. That does give a little bit of reset up time around this second Dragon now, if the side of Asian Invasion wants it. They don't see the resets quite yet, but they got to know they're not on Dragon, so they must be back. So now there's a small timer right now for Asian Invasion to take this Dragon, but here come Orianna and Wukong out of the base. So it has to be now, it has to be quick, because they dropped the Herald, they gave up their tempo for the Dragon, and instead took the plates before they fell. But this might be getting a little bit dicey here, Potato. Teleport committed from Sion.
Fear's not quick enough. They just don't have the DPS to burst this down. Garmin's going to look for the fight here, but there's a lot of tools still missing for both teams. Wonder Z goes on the Dragon. Could be a smite fight. A big Seraphine ulti, followed by big Hecarim charge, but it's Dunk getting the shutdown onto Garmin. And now Wonder Z is looking on to Ghost, but is trapped in the middle of many players. Dunk trying to offer some support on the backside. Hong Kong player really low, but Wonder Z once again getting caught out, is going to try gets the smite on the Dragon to secure it, and now Spy diving back in. It's not going to be a catch there. Hong Kong player looking for the finish, but goes down to 1 HP. It is Wild Growth keeping him safe. Lots of action going down, but ultimately the Dragon is taken by Apex, fairly even on kills and flashing health bars across the board.
Fairly even on kills, but no kills were secured by Asian Invasion, Potato. So it was just a net positive for Apex Ways Moonlight here. I named that the timer was small, and Potato, I'm going to say it again, not enough damage to finish it on the timer that they needed. And now, speaking about damage, Wonder Z is in the bot lane, has Cyclone available.
Yeah,
Oh
there's the classic
my.
combo. There's no wild growth and no hope of escape. It's another 2 going into the pockets of Apex.
Wow, another 2 kills on the back end of that play. This gold lead got catapulted up to nearly 4,000 now, Potato. 3.8 thousand separating these teams now. Granted, some of that is just the gangplank with some of these Silver Serpents with an individual advantage of nearly 1,200 gold themselves, but the rest of the team also in an amazing spot so far. All 3 of the jungle, mid, and ADC yet to die at all. Only 3 kills have been claimed from Asian Invasion. So at 16 minutes now, Asian Invasion is a little bit of a tight spot.
Yeah, that they are. And we've seen so far that their comp has kind of struggled in exactly the way you've mentioned. I mean, we had that dragon fight where it looked really promising at the start. You got a big multi-man Seraphine ulti, a big multi-man Hecarim charge, but then what comes after? How do you
Yeah.
finish? And the answer is you don't. And Apex just has enough in the tank to survive, weather the storm, and after that, it's just free shooting. And Perry looking to get a free shot against Garvin, but instead, it's going to be Orianna getting caught, but saved by the Tom Kench ulti. Lulu Fei looks for the smash, but there's Dunk back on the sidelines. Perry getting caught out by Hong Kong player a little bit. Now caught between a rock and a hard place.
He's
so
okay.
actually gets the kill and lives to tell the tale. There's no way the Shockwave is going to pick up one more on the Scion. And wow, looks like Apex just simply cannot lose here. Everything coming up good for this team.
Yeah, Potato. I mean, I have to be slightly critical here now of this B1 Nico pick for Hong Kong player. This is a player that likes to play unorthodox picks. We've seen them on Ken and mid. Nico, one of the top premier characters as well, currently in the meta, does lots of damage, has AoE knockup. But unfortunately, in game number 1, maybe there's some nerves coming in here. Feels like this is not the pick that this champion needs to thrive here. Currently sitting at 0-6-0. 50% of their team's deaths is on this one mid laner. And it just feels like they're really causing a major deficit here. I mean, not even able to 1v1 parry there, using their ultimate and all their resources parry, able to walk on out. And so that just feels like so challenging, especially when you named that, like, you need the follow-up, you need someone to execute and beat the final damage. That had to be Hong Kong player in this first game, and that just does not seem to be the case.
Yeah, it is Hong Kong player, unfortunately, not getting the results that they would have wanted to see. Has had success on this pick in the past, but just has not been able to deliver in this game. And I think the difficulties could continue to manifest for Asian Invasion here. I mean, if we look, like, Seraphine's not the damage dealer, so where else can you get it? I mean, Garvin is behind right now. Hong Kong player doesn't have it either. Sion is just a big meatball in the front, so it seems like Apex will still, for the moment, just kind of have free reign to do whatever they want.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right with that, Potato. And I mean, I'm also looking at how the damage is done from Asian Invasion. What makes this increasingly difficult is not only are they slightly behind, but to do damage, you have to be standing right next to the enemy, right? Nico needs to be standing next to them for the ultimate. Right now, 2 members standing next to Dunk, though.
Yep, Dunk is going to drop the cannon barrage, and that's a big barrel. It is the shutdown, at least going on over. But Vongola fan picks up 1, picks up 2. Pika healing out. It's another 2-man shockwave here. Can they run away from the Sion passive? No. Lulu Fei kind of slaps the head off of Orianna there, so gets 1 back in response. It is a couple nice shutdowns going over, so it's a good amount of gold. But meanwhile, it's a big push in the mid lane. 3 members collapsing Dragon side, so Apex probably still going to pick up some objectives in response.
Yeah, and take a look at, while that topside was happening, look at the vision that has been established here by Apex Ways Moonlight. So many wards in the bot side jungle of Asian Invasion with 30 seconds till the dragon spawn. It felt like all of Asian Invasion just gave up the priority to set up the dragon to get those kills on the top lane. And granted, it ended up being even, I think, right, Potato? 2 for 2 there. But now there is so little control around this space. It is nearly impossible to walk up as Asian Invasion. They might try to do it nonetheless. I mean, there's 4 members in the area, but this space is fully controlled from Apex Ways. And this 3rd dragon and Mountain Soul, the first one, is going to be claimed here by Apex Ways.
Yeah, as a small reprieve, they at least did get that first Infernal, so it's not quite going to be soul point here. Still has at least 10 minutes before the full, so a
Ooh, nice
nice
gunfire.
first
Oh
barrel and second barrel. And
my!
oh my gosh, okay.
Dunk!
Calling Ben, because that was kind of nasty. Dropping the barrels and dropping the enemy support here, summoning the Rift Herald, and this is going to be the mid-inner likely falling as well.
Just a 5v4, and Lulu Fei is not even here. Does pick up at least that bot lane objective bounty, but this Herald is still charging. It's a no. Garvin able to
Ooh.
smite it before it hits the tower.
Nice
But
last
Garvin,
minute smite, but that's a big combo, and there's no
oh
survival for the
no.
Hecarim here, and that champion falling is going to be an immediate trigger for all of Apex to turn to Baron.
Yep, once that jungler falls, Potato, that is the green light to say you don't got any way to get 1200 damage down at an immediate moment here. But at this point, it might be a little bit do or die. Asian Invasion might try to do something about it. Lulu Fei is in the area, in the zip code, but already this Baron is getting so low.
Yeah, it just falls too quickly. I mean, I thought there might have been a chance. Apex were down 3 ultimates. All of the ultimates were available for Asian
They
Invasion.
want it still.
Here is the potentially late fight here. Wonder Z going to be the target for just a moment, but their health bars are still looking mighty fine here. Maybe even looking to turn it around. There's a Cyclone to go on in. Spy maybe trying to help on the backside. Cyclone 2 use Wonder Z still tanking up 3 members without a worry in the world. Dunk there ready to support on the backside. Garvin trying to turn it back around, but a nice eat from Vongola fam is going to keep him alive just for the moment. Spy is going to give his life for that play, though, and Lulufe falls there on the top side. In exchange, it's a 1-for-1. Oh, actually, I think that a 1-for-2. All right.
1-for-3?
Maybe? 3? Okay. All right.
Okay. What, 4? Sure.
Okay, one at a time. We'll take them. We'll take them. But it is still one Baron alive on the map. A lot of shutdowns going back on, though. So, you know, at this point in the game, if you're Invasion, you will take that.
Yeah, I mean, the blinking health bars finally were capitalized on. It just took a little more time, Potato. Felt a little scary there after the Baron was slain. I thought there was no business for Asian Invasion to be around there. But ultimately, Hong Kong player able to play the fight surprisingly well, even being 0-6 on Nico, to hold off so many members from continuing that. And then great heal from Goach kept them alive even longer. So yeah, like you said, sure, the Baron's gone, and it is only going to be Wonder Z with that purple worm buff still available for 90 seconds. But yeah, Asian Invasion happy to take some of those shutdowns, get gold back into their pockets, and now critically hit some of these 2-item power spikes here. 2 items completed for Goach now, almost 2 as well for the jungler, 2 for Sion now. So I mean, still a chance here, I think. They just have to give up this next dragon, I think. It's a little bit still too hard to handle 6,000 deficit.
Yeah, and Soul Point is givable here. The last fight, so close to greatness. I mean, I think if the whole team had fully committed a little bit earlier, you had Apex on low HP, you had them fighting without ultimates, pinched in the Baron Pit, there could have been something happen there. And we did have still a lot of shutdowns, so... But now it is going to be side lane pressure coming in both on the top and the bottom lanes, maybe trying to make use of their last Baron. We're going to have to see which way Wonder Z heads. Looks like the call is to send 4 bot here, potentially, and we'll have to see if they are able to get this bot inner.
Yeah, this is going to be the last wave with the Baron buff, so it's now or never, and it looks like the answer is now for Apex.
Yep, Knockup starts the fight here. Lulufe going... Oh my god, that's a lot of damage. From the Varus there, and now Cannon Minion is going to be sieging on down. Seraphine does have some decent wave clear here, so might be able to get some of these minions on down. Wonder Z leaves the area, but look at the top side. Dunk gets his free time in the top lane. So where one tower might be held for a moment, the other might be soon to fall. But here comes the Sion. Here comes Garvin on the side as well. Parry is going to get chunked out immediately, but the Seraphine ultimate misses. And Hong Kong player does catch 2 here. It is going to be Wonder Z going to try and survive here, but is going to fall. But on the other side, Garvin is traded on back. There's a big 1k barrel crit, followed by a second one. Goach with a parlay to the back of the head, but still lives for the moment. But no, Spy gets the last word on that one. Another 994 damage barrel straight into the back of Pika Pika, and that's going to be 4 people collapsing onto this tower. It is 4 members falling for Asian Invasion. Only Wonder Z traded back in response. Tower's going to fall, and they're going to run straight to claim the dragon.
Yeah, I thought it was a good look with Dunk being in the top lane, but with the teleport up and available, as well as the cannon barrage, just it's really still a 5v5. But ultimately, Spy once again showing the power of this fifth pick Tom Kench was able just to eat whoever was in trouble, and they haven't been able to kill Spy fast enough. Meaning this Tom Kench just able to pull anyone out of danger into his big belly for a while, and has really created such a hard angle for Asian Invasion to get any kills.
Yeah, and every time the situation looked dicey, Spy is there, always reliable for their team, saving Mongola fam, saving Perry in back-to-back-to-back team fights, and making sure the team is set up for success. And it was looking a little scary there at first, right? You had the collapse from two angles, Sion charging down one side, Hecarim from the other angle, but you press one button on that Tom Kench, your
Yeah.
carries are safe as can be, and you're free to take the rest of the fight over, and take over they did with Dunk coming in with these chain barrels. Absolutely a terror on this GP, just completely melting the health bars of the enemy. Maybe gonna get a catch here on Pika Pika as well. Where are you gonna run on this Lulu? You do have an escape over the wall,
Oh,
maybe, but that's 75% HP with one
wow.
barrel, I'm
Yeah.
afraid. Spy is a team player, gonna give that over to their friends as now the siege on the top lane begins.
Yeah. Someone was saying it in chat early on. People thinking Dunk might be the best player in the finals. And in this game, number one is just piloting an absolute clinic on this gangplank, showing some just insane barrel control, insane ability, and then cross map clearing the wave and almost killing a Hong Kong player on the opposite side of the map. What can't this gangplank do?
Yeah, Hong Kong player still has the next wave to play with, though, and so does trade a nice objective bounty. And one of the strengths of the Seraphine, sure, you might not have that much damage for players, but you have a lot of damage for minions. And trying to siege that without Baron is very hard. And so you do get the pickup on the Lulu there, but no wonder Z wants more to say about it. The Shockwave will only catch the Scion there,
Oh,
and a nice 3-man Seraphine ultimate. This might be the start of a good team fight. Wonder
oh,
Z
look at this
forced to use his
teleport.
second ultimate
Look
to
at
disengage
Nico.
there. And yeah, we do have Nico coming on the backside. It's going to catch
Oh,
four, but where's the follow-up? Perry flashing out over the wall, and now Garvin trying to get into the middle of the rest of the team, but there's just not enough catch. The melee nature of this team comp, as you mentioned, just unable to find the continuation despite the good ultimates that we saw.
yeah, and that's the big problem, Potato. It's like you're right. They had the fight. They had the ultimates. They got the 3-man charm. They got a 4-man pop blossom. I mean, I was losing my mind over that big knock up there. But yeah, just kite it out. Just all right, let's run away now. And how do you stick to these guys, right? Like after you use that primary CC, you have a Rylai's on Goach, but like that's not going to keep anyone in place. You just have no way to just keep them standing there. And this is a team that wants to kite and run from you. And Apex Waves Moonlight doing a great job of doing just that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of disruption tools available to the Apex team as well. The two casts of Cyclone from Wukong able to buy so much space. You have the Tahm Kench E, you have a Varus Root, you have a Shockwave that can be used both offensively and defensively. And it's just so much for Asian Invasion to try and chew through. You can kind of see the glimmer of what this team comp is supposed to do. I mean, if Hong Kong player was a little more ahead there, it could have been a big winning fight. But unfortunately, it does seem like so far in this game, the weaknesses of this comp proven to be more than the strengths. Wilshire Garmin trying to charge on in, but has to charge straight on out. And here comes the cannon barrage. Lulu Faye going to go on in. A nice Seraphine Nico, but just not enough. Garvin trying to survive against Wonder Z, not going to be able to do so, and it's going to be member after member of Asian Invasion falling on down. Sion popping that stone plate to try and live just a little bit longer, but is not going to be able to do so. 5 members surviving once again on this Apex team, 4 falling. It's only Goach alive, and this time there's the Baron buff for these minions. The wave clear is going to be so much harder for the Seraphine. They're going to charge straight onwards. They want the catch. They want to finish the game, but Wonder Z, oh my gosh, actually lives. There's just so much healing here with the Sunder, and yeah, going to force Goach off the tower, going to get the tower, going to get the inhibitor. Top lane is falling, bot lane is falling. It's just coming up aces for Apex.
And Apex, I mean, able to secure that next Baron, and I really do see what Asian Invasion is going for, Potato. I feel like typically at this point in the game, we start to fault a pick or a way that they, what were you thinking with that? But I mean, you saw they executed exactly how they were supposed to. They landed the key abilities. They got onto the back line. The damage dealers were doing damage, but just not the entire health bar. And that's really just to contribute to this early game at nearly 12,000 golds.
Oh. Yeah, there's the 12,000 gold right there.
Yep, that, I mean, single-handedly, oh my goodness, that was an insane amount of damage. But like, you see exactly what Asian Invasion was going for. They just don't have the wallets to justify it, unfortunately. So now, I mean, maybe the worst possible dragon as well. 3 mountain dragons. Potato. It's an unfortunate way for Asian Invasion to lose game number 1, but ultimately just they don't have the late game ability. They're too far behind. They have the Baron now. The soul is theirs. Apex Ways looking for this game number 1 victory.
Yeah, the execution arrived eventually, but it arrived too late, unfortunately. If they weren't 15k behind in that team fight, something could have happened. But now, instead, all that's going to be happening is 2 super waves crashing into these Nexus towers, a giant shockwave, cyclone, cannon barrage, whatever you want, you've got it. Apex wiping the floor against Asian Invasion here with their combo, showing what a true combo is looking like in this game 1, taking down the Nexus towers, taking down the Nexus, and it's a convincing victory.
Convincing game number 1 from Apex Ways Moonlight over Asian Invasion in this grand finals best of 5. I mean, you named it, Potato. It was the execution. I mean, I got to give huge credit to Dunk. This guy was in the side lane for most of the game, but still nearly doubled anyone's damage in that game. 42,000 to that one character that they were able to dish out. 18,000 gold individually, 7,000 individual gold more than anybody else. And like, oh my gosh, just landing barrel chain after barrel chain. The one shot on Lulu was leaving me speechless. Like, that was just showing once again how insane that champion was able to do.
Yeah, just the cherry on top of a very well-made cake in this first game. As we looked across those team fights, definitely one of the major factors was the fact that Dunk just did not seem to miss with these barrels. And so I'm imagining he might not get this pick very much for the rest of the series.
Yeah, that might be the case too, and I do have to give big credit here to the rest of Apex Way squad. I mean, collaboratively, I mean, hey, Dunk also died the most. Gotta say, Potato. But yeah, this jungle mid ADC, I was talking, these were the players that hadn't died yet, and throughout the game, collaboratively only dying 4 times. We're seeing KDA's 14, 13, 17 insane performances from this squad. And Apex Spy in that support role, the 5th pick, Tom Kench, really got their team out of some dicey situations in that first game and really denied anything Asian Invasion was trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever moments of hope Asian Invasion had, Spy was there to dash that. The ultimates were always on point, hit the right targets just when they needed to, kept this Orianna, this Varus in the game, and yeah, wouldn't be seeing a 17 KDA without him.
No, absolutely. So someone we did have watching that entire game along with us was the Alternative. Alternative's going to be joining us here on this post game to just break down a little bit what they were seeing throughout the match that we might have missed here. So, hey, Alternative, you back with us?
Yeah, absolutely. My draw's on the floor from that Gangplank performance, I'll be honest. I think I agree with you guys. I don't think the Gangplank's going to be seeing any play for the rest of the series. And yeah, I think, man, what an explosive game 1. I'm excited to see what we have to see next.
Yeah. I mean, what were some of your kind of takeaways here after watching Game and Roy? You mentioned the Gangplank being that primary team fight factor. Either what went wrong for Asian Invasion or what went right for Apex Ways Moonlight, you think, in that first game?
Yeah, so I think very early in the game we saw great proactive plays from both teams. Early ganks going on, successful and unsuccessful. But I think early in the game, so up until I believe like 12 minutes, the goal was completely even. The kills were almost even. So the game was very close at that point. I think a couple of very early team fights. So we saw the early dragon fights that went slightly in the favor of Apex, really opened up the game for them. I think a couple missteps from Asian Invasion allowed Apex to take advantage of that. So yeah, I think Apex did a really great job of capitalizing on Asian Invasion's early errors and just kind of rolling with it for sure.
Yeah, because it felt like there wasn't damage in the early game, right? In terms of just like by the nature of the champions. But then the issue came later on. It wasn't an issue of the champions not having damage. It was just the team not having damage because they were down so much gold, right? Like, do you
Right.
feel like, I mean, I was saying it in the game. I thought Asian Invasion's composition kind of worked on paper, but it
Yeah.
just came 35 minutes and then just couldn't kill anyone. Do you kind of think that was correct? Or do you think there's kind of a major flaw? Because you had Apex Waves Moonlight from the get-go in terms of enjoying their composition more.
Right. Right. Well, I'll be honest, I was a little surprised. We saw the potential of Asian Invasion's team comp in those later fights from behind. They had a couple really insane ultis. They had a couple really insane turns, but they just weren't able to squeak it out because they were so behind. So looking at just those few fights that they were almost able to take from 10k gold behind or whatever it was, I think if they were able to come away from that early game a little bit better off, if they were ahead or even, um, their team comp really showed a lot of potential, but it also had a lot of its problems, right? So those early ganks bot, or early 3v3s bot, their lack of damage really didn't let them get the leads that they wanted. Um, Apex were able to get away from a couple fights with just a couple HP, So
Yeah.
I think they have a lot to analyze going into this second game draft. I liked the look, but maybe they need to account for a couple of their weaknesses a little better.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's kind of exactly what we were seeing there in the game as well. Potato, as Alex had kind of alluded to there, Alternative was saying that now we're looking at sights at game number 2, and the first thing Alternative was saying was get that Gangplank on the bench. But what are some other adaptations you think, both from Apex and Asian Invasion, Potato, here in the second game that you kind of expect to see from these teams?
I think you have to run a bit more of a balanced team comp here.
Yeah.
Nico Seraphine, Sion, there's just not enough consistent damage here, and the conditions for a successful team fight are so difficult to fulfill. And we had kind of like flashes of brilliance from individual players. I imagine the comms like I've got 3, I've got 4 here, but to have this all sync up together with kind of the limited range and the timing required, it's just too much. So I think play something easier, play something a little more standard. You have good players on this team. You guys have had a lot of success on the way to the grand finals in previous season. Go back to that, and I think you can come back.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Maybe that execution, but I mean, even after those first 3 picks, Potato, you said this is very magic damage heavy in terms of this composition, and then they ran out their draft with Lulu Sion, and like we said, hey, there's no Marshall on this team. Like, what are you going to be doing here? And yeah, as you said, like this is a team that finds success. They have damage dealers, but no one was doing it from the back line, and we've seen Asian Invasion be able to play this hyper aggressive style. Goach has piloted things like a Samira to success as well in these playoff series. And I kind of want to see a little bit of a return to form from this bot lane. I like the Seraphine experiment. I mean, I'm biased to it myself, but I think too, just you got to let some more damage profiles come through, and maybe something even from a little bit further away. Not saying we have to slam Samira quite yet in game 2.
Yeah, and I still do think you can definitely make the Seraphine work, but usually the comps in which that is most successful is ones where you end up running kind of like a lot of bruisers and you just sort of steamroller over the entirety of the enemy team. You might be seeing something like a set in the top lane or a swing in the mid lane. You have kind of just a lot of sustain, a lot of meatball, a lot of just run at them. And what we ended up getting just wasn't quite that. So I think you can make adjustments either way. If you want to see something like the Seraphine work, you can do that. If you want to go something more standard, you can do that. But you kind of have to overall synergize, I think, a little bit better.
Absolutely. Yeah, and alternative now, like, do you feel like there were synergistic issues primarily from Asian Invasion? Or what was really able to, like, what did Apex Ways do right that they should really be going back to in the second game, as we expect to see some different champions here on the Rift?
Yeah, so I don't want to harp too much on the draft, but it was very clearly the main issue, I think, in this game 1 for Asian Invasion. I think Apex just drafted a very, very well balanced comp, as we were saying. So they had the early game team fighting with the Wukong Varus Tahm Kench. And then Gangplank, of course, played a very stable early game, was not a part of the very early plays, but of course, farmed really well, was able to get a gold lead based off of just the matchup and first strike. And then, of course, so they just have this really late game insurance.
Yeah.
It's really hard to play against that once you have a Gangplank that's, 5, 6 items. So I think Apex can just continue with what they're doing. If they draft a team comp that's similar, they're looking good. But I'm really interested to see how Asian Invasion are able to respond to that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the thing, alternative, I think you point out there is like, if you're the team that's winning, you just keep doing what's working, right? Like until you lose, until the enemy shows something that you need to adapt to, why not just run back something similar? Early game that's going to be stable, have some primary, team fight ultimates, which we saw with things like Orianna and Wukong partnering up together. I liked the Tahm Kench adaptation there. And then the late game insurance on Dunk. We were saying dunk, dunk, dunk after 25 minutes. I don't think we mentioned this player in the first 25. So having someone that's going to be that late game insurance, I think was critical for the squad too. But you're right in terms of that balance, right? Finding how you can pull these different pieces together here. And we're going to see now as we're into game number 2, how are these teams going to be able to adapt critically to the sides have swapped. So now Apex is going to be drafting from the blue side.
Yeah, we'll have to see kind of what they end up prioritizing here. I think Asian Invasion as a team is one that has had more kind of like specialty picks that they lean into, things like the Nico and the Seraphine, whereas Apex kind of on the road here to Grand Finals has shown a good deal more variety. So I'm curious to see what they think is going to be their strongest pick.
Yeah, absolutely. The Nico, we'll see if that still has priority here. Asian Invasion so far keeping that at least Misfortune ban off of the table. Meanwhile, Apex Waves Moonlight banning the Rakan as well as the Fiora, some key champs for Asian Invasion. But now Wukong. So here's the first adaptation now of the draft. Alternative, do you think that Apex Waves Moonlight, that Wukong was kind of the main issue that Wonder Z had?
I think Wukong did really great for them. So going into like the first dragon fight, I think the Wukong had like 0 KP, so it wasn't. I don't think like a crazy early threat or anything that got them ahead, but the Wukong was similarly to the Gangplank, just able to play very stable, get his farm up, and then going into the team fights, what was just wreaking havoc. Yeah, so we see Apex just keeping their same bans from the first game, like we were saying. If it works, why fix it?
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like they're leaving up the Gangplank. I see. If I were them, I would have been a little bit scared, I think, to see the Gangplank B1 here, since he did blinded in the first game there. So we'll see how they respond here.
But the other champion that critically is not banned, the Wukong is replacing an Olaf ban. And Dunk, this is a 252 LP master tier top laner with 91 games on Olaf and a 67% win rate. So definitely a champion that's carried them up the ranks in solo queue at least. But this feels almost like a repeat of game 1 here, Potato, with the Prio on Nico. But now it's going to be Apex picking that up for their side on this blue side. Are we going to think we're going to see this mid again?
I think it's probably their best role. So it could be, Mongol fam just wanting to show them how it's done. But, there are flex opportunities. Jungle Nico still is a thing. Support Nico sometimes theoretically possible, so it could be something, a little bit of spice coming out. And another pick that we haven't seen quite yet, but has been relevant coming up to the playoffs is Maokai has been banned very consistently against Asian Invasion. So haven't seen them pull it out yet, but could be something that they might have in their back pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. And already we're seeing this adaptation now from Asian Invasion. The Lulu standard from game 1. However, this is the damage backline here alternative. This is the Twitch. Not only is it a damage dealing ADC, but also an ADC that wants to stay far, far away from Apex.
Oh yeah. I like the Twitch here. It definitely maybe would have helped them out in game 1. I'm really actually surprised that they decided to go with the Nico B1. I'm not sure if that's like just a prio. They think it's important this game, or if they were worried about what the Nico could have done if the Asian Invasion were to get it again. But see, here we get the Nautilus bot. It looks like they may try to abuse Twitch's weaker early game. I don't think he's like the weakest early game, but Picking an aggressive bot lane can definitely mitigate Twitch's late game.
Yeah, but they're saving their marksman here, so I do expect someone like a Kai'Sa to maybe get banned away from Apex. Instead, they're just going to blind their jungler now. Nocturne is going to be the choice. Something that Apex has played against. They took it down when they fought against Mythic Esports here.
Okay.
And now, I mean, game one, we saw lots of team fighting, lots of 5v5 AoE abilities. And now in game two, Wosher Garvin is saying, pick me the early game. Give me the Lee Sin.
Yep, this is a Garvin classic. We see him pilot this champion quite a bit, oftentimes to great success. But here we do also see kind of the beginning of a very strong team identity for Apex. I mean, you just got Omega Dive here, right? And if something like the Kai'Sa's left up, then we'll see that even more. And Twitch is someone that we mentioned wanting to have them far away, and Apex doesn't seem like they intend on staying very far away.
No, I don't think so either here. I mean, it does feel like they want to be in the thick of things now too. But something they don't want to be here, now this Gangplank is hitting the ban table.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if they also go with the Olaf ban. That would provide even more dive, even more threat against the Twitch.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see how Asian Invasion is able to round out their comp. You could go for like a protect the Twitch kind of situation, but with the Lee Sin, it looks like they might want some more aggressive solo lanes as well. So yeah, I think there's a lot of potential for variation here in these last couple picks for both teams.
Yeah, I do wonder about something like an Ari pick potentially as a mid laner for Asian Invasion to pick up. Hong Kong player did show that in their victory, but it is going to hit the ban table now. I mean, yeah, that was kind of what I thought was going to be a pretty safe choice for them. We have seen, other things, even like they've shown a Renekton mid. I don't think that necessarily works here. They've shown a Silas, which is on the ban table here. Wow. So might need to pull out something a little different. It looks like Fizz is going to be the choice.
Speaking of unique picks, I don't think Fizz sees a lot of playtime in competitive, but that is an exciting pick. Being a Nico player themselves, they might like the matchup specifically.
Sure.
And with the Lee Sin, they could be going for these 2v2 plays. I think that could be quite strong for them.
And it gives more mobility, right? This is already a squad that has Lee Sin, so has some of that mobility. It doesn't quite fit that archetype, though, alternative that you had mentioned around the peel for the Twitch, right? Like protected Twitch comp. Fizz feels like almost the antithesis of that kind of archetype as a champion, at least.
Yeah, I do like them having a kind of multi-threat comp though, because if they do index too much on one champion, I mean that is Apex's strength of just diving and killing them. But Nocturne can only ult one person. Nautilus can only ult one person. So when you have multiple threats that Apex have to kind of keep in mind for their comp, it could significantly complicate the team fights.
Yeah. And this Kai'Sa now, this was something that I had mentioned that I thought was going to get taken away. But as I look at Asian Invasion's second half bans, I kind of think you have to ban Gangplank and Olaf, right? Like those are both very, very scary. I mean, and Kai'Sa and Cassante, man, like what do you pick now, alternative? If you're Asian Invasion to round up this comp, you were worried about it.
Oh yeah.
What's the answer that ties it all together?
It looks like their answer might be Mordekaiser here. I do like the Mordekaiser pick. Going into these deep diving comps, if one person dives too far too fast, the Mordekaiser can kind of wreak havoc on them with his ult. Wow. It looks like Asian Invasion's kind of team fighting, if they would go for team fighting, is much more skirmishy, right? So it looks like they have some pick potential with Lee Sin and Fizz, which they do have the team fighting with the Twitch as well. That seemed to be the name of the game in game one. Even like very early into the game, that we were seeing the 4v4s, the 5v5s. So yeah, Apex's team does look really, really scary to me. I'm really gonna, we're gonna have to see how this plays out.
Yeah, so I mean, there was adaptation, right? Like, I mean, if we look between game 1 and 2, Apex Waves Moonlight has picked 5 different champions, right? These are 10 champions now. We're going to see them pilot here, but I would say that this is a similar composition. Like, would you, like, Potato, do you think this is the same kind of idea? I mean, I know we talked a lot about that game 1, the stable early, the late game opportunities. Is this the same idea, or is Apex thinking about this second game a different way?
I think the vibe of the team is a little bit different. I mean, in the first game, right? It's all about a lot of disruption. You got Wukong and GP just carving up areas of that battlefield, making it difficult for Asian Invasion to kind of play. And then you have the Tom Kinch that's really focused about safety. Uh, this, in contrast, seems to me about kind of like high mobility, high burst, big dive, just take out the enemy champions. And I think, both comps considered, I think Apex do have the tools to make that happen.
Yeah. And so, what does Asian Innovation have in their pocket? Alternative, you named that there's some pick potential. What's Asian Invasion's way in game two? What are they thinking about in this second game to try to tie up this series?
Yeah. So they had the double counter pick, right, in the solo lanes. I think that will be an important factor in this game. If they're able to perform on those counter picks, regardless of what's going on around the map, that can definitely be a way into the game for them. The Lee Sin is also, just a super strong early game champion. I think much better at ganking pre-6, of course, than Nocturne. So they have a lot of ways into the game. And we did see a lot of proactive plays in game one from them. So just going on that, hopefully they can play for their strengths. I think, which is the early skirmishes before the 5-man dives onto the Twitch. That might be a little bit difficult, but if they're able to get the leads early, like they wanted in game one, I believe as well. I think they have a good shot at this actually.
Yeah, because that lead early was something that was definitely lacking in that first game. Asian Invasion just didn't have that damage. I think they've drafted damage. That was a big part that I felt like they were missing in that first game. And they've made up for that here, right? Like these are talking about multiple threats, Potato. You were naming that like it's better to not just have protect the Twitch, load everything onto them and hope they survive. You have Fizz. Mordekaiser's going to be getting some damage too. Lee Sin is a damage champion, although not like a team fighting one, but you have threats. And I think that was something that Asian Invasion was sort of missing. But sounds like it has to be very loaded around this front end. Potato, do you kind of think that's the case? First 14 minutes, Asian Invasion at least has to be at parity to be successful?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think the game is going to be too difficult for them otherwise. And in particular, I'm going to really have my eyes on the solo lanes this game. I think Alternative's right that these counter picks really matter. I think if Mordekaiser gets to a breaking point, is able to solo his chosen target in the Death Realm, that can be a big way in for Asian Invasion. I think if Fizz ends up getting rolling and is able to get those one shots onto Nico and Kaisa, I think that's a way in for them in the game. I do think they have a higher hill to climb than Apex, but those are some of the ways that I think it could get done.
Yeah, well, we are seeing 9 new champions from game number 1 locked in. I guess 8 because Nico just swapping sides at least on the Rift, though. Some new ideas, some new perspectives. Apex is up currently 1-0 in this best of 5 grand finals series against Asian Invasion. And we are just getting into a spectator delay. So after this 2-minute delay, we will be jumping into game number 2 of this grand finals. Thank you again to Alternative for the analysis in the pregame. The prediction is live, so you can tell us with your channel points who's going to win this second match. And then on the other side of this break, we'll be finding out for ourselves. So stay where you're at. We'll see you after the break. It is time for the second matchup of the evening in this best of 5 grand finals of our premier Shurima division between Asian Invasion and Apex Ways Moonlight. Apex Ways Moonlight taking a game 1 victory, and this time on the blue side are looking for an early invade to Asian Invasion's jungle.
Yeah, Lulufei is going to spot that out, heading out on getting out of the tri-bush there, drops a ward, so they are going to know that there is a significant enemy presence in this area. Hong Kong player there staying on the sidelines, getting a bit of a spot as well. Spy playing a few low Nico tricks here. But it seems like it is just going to be the starting ward drops. They will know which side of the map that Garvin starts on.
Yep, and I think that's even more important in this composition, right? I mean, Alternative mentioned it before that break, but getting an early game priority is so pivotal for this team. And so to counteract that, Apex needs to just play defensive with some of their vision, understand where Lee Sin's going to be pathing, and then try to avoid these opportunities for them to get ganked early on. And so full information where Lee Sin is starting, and that's going to be an advantage for Apex to play around.
Yeah, Ward traded for Asian Invasion there on towards the bot side as well, but we know that Nocturne is most likely going to full clear, and Mongolofam actually playing a little bit of a mind game too there with the Nico transforming into the Nocturne and walking over the ward, perhaps intentionally. Maybe they knew that that one was placed there, so maybe a bit of guesswork for Asian Invasion on which way Nocturne might have started.
Yeah, we'll see if that does impact any of this early pathing, but speaking of pathing, both junglers are going to be on the same side now of the rift, almost directly across from one another. So now it's going to be interesting to see where they might be meeting early on. But level 2, Apex, once again, going on to Goach. I mean, that is the power of this Kaisa Nautilus lane.
Yep, and I feel like they're going to be looking for a lot more of the same throughout the course of this lane. A lot of trading here on the top side as well. Dunk and Lulufei going at it against each other, running out of potions now, and here we go. Washer Garmin trying to make his first gank work here. Dunk has the Q3. Lulufei is going to wait that out, is going to get that resource expended, but Resonating Strike does not quite hit there, and Pika Pika here forced to burn the heal on the bot side as it's a second good hook coming out of Spy.
Yeah, that was a really good timer as well from Lee Sin. Even though they knew where Lee was starting, typically you're not going to take your quadrant and then immediately look into a gank on that same quadrant you just cleared. So Goach in trouble a little bit. Pika Pika's already used the Ghost, but trading back on a parry aggressively. But now take a look at Wonder Z with this crashing wave, and they have full information from a ward dropped. I mean, Washer Garvin really trying to get onto Dunk
Garvin
early.
has to make this one work here. It's the Q3 coming out. It's
It
the tower
doesn't.
being taken, and it's going to be Dunk almost getting the double here. Thankfully, Lulufei is able to catch that with the flash play, but there's a flash play in response as Spy flashes onto Pika and gets the pickup here. Now, Goach being collapsed on by 3 members does have the safety of his tower. The hook goes wide. No expunge yet to be able to find a finish against Perry. It's just going to be a 1-for-1. Nocturne, fortunately, also not able to take away any of these bot camps. So it was a crucial moment there for Asian Invasion, but fortunately, game state still remains stable.
And yeah, the game state is stable, but 3 kills in 4 minutes is anything but here, Potato. You're right that at least Washer Garvin is going to be able to take their entire bot side camps. Something that was not guaranteed, but gratefully Pika Pika did sniff it out. Unfortunately, cost their life for it. However, this is going to be still some sequencing coming in. And yeah, gratefully, the top lane play was not a disaster. However, Garvin definitely did not want to be hitting that gray screen on that top lane play with how many resources were committed there.
Yeah, and there was really a potential for the game to kind of blow up in Apex's favor there. I mean,
Yes.
You do your first 3 camps, you sequence topside for the gank, fails the gank, then you path into the enemy jungle where they already cleared the camp, but there's another hook.
That's
won't have time
Pika.
to talk about that as, yeah, Pika Pika is going to go on down. No flash available. Flash is available for Goach, but fortunately will not have to use that one. But Spy is not missing on these hooks, you know, showing that they can play the defensive Tahm Kench, but they can catch you out on this Nautilus as well. And Wave's looking a little terrible for Goach right now.
It really is, as it's pushing away from this Twitch. I mean, so challenging now to play into this wave. You did kind of give them this lane and you did blind pick though, so it is getting properly punished. But now Wilshire Garvin trying to punish on the Vongola fam for pushing too far, but is just going to mean a little bit of poke damage, nothing sticking now. And even with Lulu Fei coming down the river, looks like Vongola fam not even phase continues to farm up mid.
Yeah, able to bully this Twitch out of the lane with the range advantage there. The Fizz, sorry, just too low range to be able to follow up with the Lee Sin, and too low HP as well. Does burn the TP to get on back to lane. Volkola Fams going to get their own reset now and get a nice first buy as well.
Yep, so these first buys are coming in. No objectives have been taken. The dragon is going to be a mountain, meaning not a soul we're going to see, but continued pressure onto Dunk in the top lane. Lee Sin spending a lot of time up here, but Dunk is level 6, so you got to be really afraid now into Cassante. Lulu Fei trying to just hold this wave. Wilshire Garvin not level 6, but look how long Lee Sin's committing up here. Now he's going to try to make the play happen. Lands the Resonating Strike as well. But again, that's kind of all you get. You cannot be fighting Dunk just in a straight up 1v1.
Yeah, Xante's just got such a presence. I mean, fortunately, there were no camps to farm, so, you know, might as well as use that time to look for a gank if you can. But, yeah, nothing found there, and that show on the top side will mean that Wonder Z knows it's free to take the dragon in response.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're right, Potato, that there weren't any camps to farm, but this is like the critical piece of information that you still get. Granted, you could deduct that Garvin is going to be in the top side with the second rotation spawn of the red buff. However, just showing your body topside does confirm that. So granted, I don't know if there's much of another play, but there's a part of secrecy that if the enemy hasn't seen you on the map, you could hypothetically be anywhere. So I think it is still a misplay from Garvin just to get a little bit of that chip damage. Dunk has healed it all back at this point as well. And so now we need to see level 6s coming in because Wonder Z is at a pretty big advantage here, both in the experience department and 600 individual gold up. And so this first paranoia is going to be massive on the map. And Garvin's got to make a little bit more happen in this early game because Alternative and named that really this early game priority needs to happen out of Asian Invasion to try to put them in a good spot in this second game.
Yeah, and I mean, in fairness, we do have like Mordekaiser with a bit of a farm lead here in the top lane. Fizz not falling too far behind in this melee v range matchup, and even Twitch staying like fairly even. That's a champion that's, you know, okay going down a little bit in farm if they are able to find kills later on. So still potential for hope here, but we start seeing the same thing as we did in game 1. We're rotating the support up towards this Herald, looking for this early objective take here. They will spot him out on the map. Pika Pika kind of in the vicinity as well, but looks like Asian Invasion just going to back off for now. Maybe going to go for a late contest. We do have Lulu Fei moving on now. So, yeah, Wonder Z is around, does have the Paranoia available. Lee Sin Kick is available as well. So there are a decent number of ultimates here. And here we go. Wilshire Garvin hopping on in. Dunk and Lulu Fei marking each other onto the top side. Wonder Z backing off up here. But there's a flash engage, and there's the ultimate chain. Immediately going to be Hong Kong player taken down. Death Realm is going to get expended. A nice kick from Garvin to disengage. Lulu Fei driven away from the fight for just a moment.
The objective.
Pika trying to find it on the other side. Spy forced to flash on away. Garvin getting low, getting taken down. Pika on 1 HP there. Lulu Fei caught in the middle of 4 players, trying to find a trade back, but instead it's just going to be Dunk with the double kill. And now Lulu Fei going for one more hit on Vongola fam, does get one in response. Maybe we'll find the second, but no, there's enough hiding potential. Wonder Z gets their way out. Dunk on the Cassandra here is going to take down their opposing number 7-2 in the kill department. You got the Herald, but you paid a price.
Yeah, and the price is a 4-1 Dunk Potato. Oh, at least Hong Kong player is going to be able to punish this overstay from Spy, but the 1v1 is going in Perry's way in the bot lane, forcing a flash out of Goach.
Yeah, flash exchange for Ignite and Ultimate there. Twitch still holding onto his ulti, so maybe has a play. Perry is on a bit of a gank timer here, but just going to take a safe back, so you will take that ADC's flash.
Yeah, and so what I was naming, this is so hard. You put resources as Garvin and Asian Invasion into the top lane to try to stop Dunk from getting ahead, and nonetheless, they are 4-1 now. Not yet on that mythic item, but I mean, we talk about hard champions to try to chew through in game 1 with the Scion that Asian Invasion picked up. This time, Dunk is going to be a problem. on this Cassante. So you really just got to overload resources onto this champ later on into the game, or use Lulufei's ultimate as well. Neither of those are going to be reliable ways to deal with Cassante.
Yeah, and we're seeing here from Mongolofam to a very well synchronized, well set up play. Ulting early on the Nico, flashing to catch two, chaining it with the Wonders. The Hong Kong player immediately goes down. And when that
Yeah.
happens, fighting a 3v4 just too difficult. I mean, Lulufei actually output a lot of damage in that fight, was able to sustain through a lot of it, was in the middle of everyone. We had a nice kick from Garvin, but just the numbers advantage was too much.
Yeah, it did make a big difference. And the other numbers that are in advantage for Apex Ways Moonlight, the gold lead, the dragon lead, the kill lead as well. With less than a minute now until the second dragon spawns up, we'll see if these numbers can continue to be extended. Spy may be looking for something, but it could be to their demise. Garvin is in the area and has ultimate, but no flash available.
Yeah,
This could
no
be a
ultimate from
big
the
fight.
Voodoo, though, and there is Paranoia up here as well, so it would be a 3v3, potentially even expanding into a 4v4 here on the bot side, but maybe both teams a little bit wary here, no one engaging or committing just yet.
No commits coming through, but now Wondersy is in this bot lane as well. Lulufei getting a good trade onto Dunk in the top lane, even sidestepping out of that Q3. Garvin, I don't think you want to go for this, my guy. But
Yeah,
they don't know
Garvin
Wondersy is
showing
there.
Yeah, Wondersy so patient there in the bush, just waiting, continuing to stay. Another Sonic Wave lands,
Oh,
and
now
now
he's
it's
behind.
Mongolofam with the first move, going towards the Lulu. There is the Wild Growth available. Nautilus Hook is going to miss, but the Paranoia is going to be expended. It's still just Wondersy in the front line for now, but there's the dive coming in from Perry. Wondersy is going to get on back. Dunk trades on the top side as well. Another Sonic Wave lands. Will they take this one? It will. Shark goes on out, but here's the Nico ultimate. It catches two, and Perry's got the DPS to finish. Hong Kong player in the backside does get the finish. A double kill for Perry, but falls in exchange. Gulch now with the stealth going to come out, but not enough finishing power just yet on this Twitch. It is the ghost burned, but not a kill to be found. 2 for 1 on the map. Maybe 3? I think
Maybe 3, because Dunk got a solo kill under tower at that point as well. I don't know. My guess is going to be that Lulufei just got pulled into the tower with the all out, but ultimately did fall themselves, gave Dunk another kill for their pocket. And yeah, 2 kills went on to Perry. Granted, a little bit was traded back, but a lot of summoner spells used. And ultimately, Asian Invasion went for that play without full information. They did not know where the jungler was. Wonders was there, didn't even have to use Paranoia immediately, but then turned off the lights and was able to take the fight. And I don't think Asian Invasion would have taken that if they knew exactly where Wondersy was.
Yeah, and it seemed kind of okay at the start because it was Nocturne kind of solo diving, but Kai'Sa's always got that follow-up. Nocturne was able to dish out so much damage and not take all that much back in exchange, and the backside of the fight was just a little bit difficult. We do have the players now all moving on towards Dragon. It is 5 members of Asian Invasion getting pulled on down here. No teleport available for Dunk, so the arrival of the top laner will mean that Apex will probably have to give this one. Paranoia is available if Wondersy wants to look for something, but no, is just going to get taken away. Lulufei TPing back on up. Nice move.
Oh, it's actually going to be a Hong Kong player there teleporting up to catch that wave. But yeah, good overload from Faye to come on down for this Dragon play. They really needed something before the plates fell. But once again, Wondersy is in this bush. Spy is waiting, and they're just going to go.
Yeah, there's the trigger pull. These Nocturne Paranoias have landed with success every time. We saw the first play there at the Herald, Mongolofam setting it up. We saw the second play, Wondersy diving on in, and here is the third. It's all turned up success here. Apex is going to get the tower. Pika Pika is going to be forced to fall back, and it's going to be bot side control, jungle quadrant control, and this Nocturne is getting to be a real force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and that becomes so critical once Nocturne hits level 11 because of the extended range. Nocturne can just be almost anywhere on the map. And with Nico the ability to turn in, let's hold that as Garvin's going to go in on Dunk.
Yeah, Garvin's going to try and find something here. A flash kick onto Dunk here, and it's going to be the all-out expended, not pushing Lulufei over the tower critically. It's going to be flash to try and follow there. Dunk trying to run away, but 800 gold shutdown going into the pockets of Garvin. 2 flashes were used, but a lot of gold swung back in exchange.
Yep, the gold for flashes is absolutely worth for Asian Invasion. My only issue with that play is who it went on. I think ultimately you want Faye to keep getting stronger to match Dunk in a side lane because no one else really can. And Lee Sin, very much a facilitator champion, but doesn't need the gold to be successful as much. However, with that pick on the top side does mean now that they're going to look for this Rift Herald as well. But there are 4 members around from Apex.
Yeah, Mordekaiser Lee Sin, no ultimates. Another flash ultimate engaged from Vongola fam. Hong Kong players looking for the damage though, but Perry flies in on the backline, takes down Garvin. Wild Growth over from beyond the wall. Perry very low, but Lulu Faye is even lower, and here comes the Paranoia, just fresh off of cooldown, and he'll take that kill. Thank you very much. 14-5 for Apex.
And Vongola fam's second play is the same as the first, channeling that Pop Blossom, flashing on forward, getting the knock up, and no chance to react for the side. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that is a tragedy for Gulch there. Catching them in the last quarter second of the base means that despite the damage landing, the channel will complete, and losing Flash for that as well.
Yeah, but I mean, that feels like a little bit of a sign of desperation for Asian Invasion in the second match. They needed the early game to go their way at 16.5 minutes. It has not. So now you have to start trying to look at picks. You have to overload one side of the map. They got the kill onto Dunk, but the other targets were still able to take the 4v4. So there was not a team fight win now. Now Spy is back in the top lane, root into knockup. This is going to be a dead Twitch.
Yes, by arriving just in time, there's the Nautilus ultimate to guarantee a Proto Belts forward. Gulch is going to fall.
Yep. And this is really challenging now because you don't really have a winning side lane. Alternative name that they had double counterpick side lanes here, or double counterpick solo lanes, I mean, here in the second match. However, the advantage is still going to Apex Waves Moonlight, and feels like you're in a hole now and you picked early game. So now, do you try to scale for Twitch? It feels really, really hard to take the fights that you need. Hong Kong player is going to get caught out here on the way to top lane, but there's not going to be a play quite yet.
Yeah, and I mean, in theory, you might be able to try and look for picks with the Fizz, with the Twitch, but Spy is just doing such a good job of warding for their teammates here, both with the actual vision and with their body. But now Garmin has arrived and Spy is in trouble. But here comes Paranoia. Wonder Z is not one to let his team fall by the wayside. Another Pop Blossom this time around is not going to hit. And Hong Kong player even using their flash, they're afraid of the same play that they've seen before.
Yeah, well conditioned. I think Vongola fam has conditioned the Fizz to know they're going to look for it, but did not have flash up quite yet. And again, that's the challenge of this Nocturne here now, Potato. This is a Nocturne that is ahead, isn't level 11, but can still show up in just the blink of an eye. When the lights go out, you better start running here. 10 additional kills for Apex Waves. And with this next Dragon in 30 seconds, it looks like there's going to be members grouping up from Asian Invasion around here. But I think a 5v5 team fight is still going to be favoring Apex Waves Moonlight 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, and crucially, look at the flashes on the side of Asian Invasion, or rather the lack thereof. All 5 members without that summoner spell will make any kind of dragon contest even more difficult.
Yeah. It really does. And so now you have to say, okay, we got to get a pick now. We got to get one early. The dragon is alive, and pings from Asian Invasion go into it. Really smart play here. I want to point out they're using the Rift Herald to pull pressure away, force a response there, and try to get early damage onto this dragon. And with Nocturne in the top side, I think this dragon is going to go over and be theirs. So surprisingly, Apex Waves Moonlight might have just stuttered just a little bit there. Did not set up for the objective, and it is going to be a dragon claimed from Asian Invasion. This is going to delay this potential soul for another 5 minutes, and actually is going to do a great job at maybe stalling out this game.
Yeah, electing to trade it for tower damage instead, but I really would have wanted to see them try and secure that one. But instead, it is going to be just Lulu Faye getting engaged on early here. Wonder Z also flying in towards Gulch. Garvin trying to support on the side. Vongola fam does catch the Twitch here. Garvin getting very low. Twitch getting very low as well. Flashing health bars. Everyone, Hong Kong player in the middle of everybody. Dunk is going to get very crucially low on HP as well. Tries to escape on Cassante. There's just so much mobility there. And now Perry is going to be the one, and the spotlight gets slammed down by the hammer of Lulu Lulufei, and it's a winning fight for Asian Invasion.
And Potato, that didn't work into my calculations when I said 10 times out of 10, but somehow the fight came through. Ultimately, Lulu Fei on this Mordekaiser had massive AoE damage in that fight. Garvin was able to kick Wonder Z into the tower, and they had to run pretty quickly as well. And Pika Pika did such a great job at keeping Goach alive in that fight long enough for the spell rotations from these other mages to come back up. And because of that, they won the team fight. They're going to be very, very happy with this last couple of minutes. And the gold lead is now shrinking to only 1,600 between these two squads.
Yeah, and that's a very playable position is 1600 gold, especially with this kind of kill deficit. Goach really was able to survive everything that Apex threw at him, went through the paranoia, went through the Nico ultimate engage, and without them able to find the finishing power, it was Hong Kong player just wreaking havoc in the middle of everybody. It was Lulu Fei taking people into Brazil, but now the person being taken might be Pika Pika flashing early there, but not able to survive. Nonetheless, wild growth used, but still going to fall to the wayside. They might be looking towards Baron after that pick.
Yeah, it's not the jungler, but it is still creating a 5v4 advantage for Apex Waves Moonlight. And that 5v4 is all that they need to start up this dragon. And so now you got to see if Garvin can get here, maybe look for a steal. We'll see if Apex Waves does want to stick this, but they seem to be peeling off for the team fight.
Yep, Engage goes on to Lulufei, but Lulufei is just fine with that, just going to turn it right back around on Spy. There's the Paranoia and a big Pop Blossom, and there's the dive comp that we want to see. Everyone flying on in, but Hong Kong player is still alive. Can they do something? Dunk is in the middle, beating people down on Cassante. It's going to be Lulufei now, left in a 1v3. Parry, free hitting on the side. Dunk going to be one decimating smash from death, but it is one decimating smash too many as Parry picks up the triple kill and goes on to the Baron.
Now with 3 members on the Baron, the health bars are low. Pika Pika is here, but does not have a flash. Will this Lulu be able to be the hero? Wonder Z, very, very low, is going to get the smite. The health bars were ticking, but the Baron is secured. A team fight win means a Baron to boot for Apex Waves Moonlight.
Pika Pika trying to channel their inner blood water there, but unfortunately the availability of the smite will mean that the Baron is guaranteed. It lands on a fair number of members, and now we're going to start to see the siege, and we'll have to see how many towers they can push down with this one.
Yeah, I think these next 3 minutes are critical for Apex Waves Moonlight. They are at an advantage, but like you said, it's all about taking these neutral objectives. This is the last outer tower that was still standing, so now it is just inners. Where are they going to be looking to fight? Mongola Fam, as a Disguised Nocturne, takes a little bit of damage. So far, just the 1 tower. But with 2 minutes still on the Baron, they don't have side lanes. They're just going to be pushing up through mid, but Hong Kong player on the side.
Yeah, Asian Invasion wants to find the flank. There's a lot of damage landing onto Spy to lead off. It is, however, Worcester Garvin just being blown up immediately, but traded back is Spy on the other side. Twitch is opening up with the ultimate, but it's just not enough damage going straight into the HP bars of the tanks. A small catch goes on to Hong Kong player. Kaisa is going to follow up there, but no ultimate will mean no fly-in here. A 1-for-1 trade, but, you know, if you can get a Baron off the map, you will take that. Dunk with the Q3. Oh, barely misses out on catching Pika Pika there, and they will still try and hold this mid tower. A nice 2-man root coming in from Vongola Fam. The dive goes on to Pika Pika there.
Here's
Wonder
the teleport.
is able to find it. A teleport here, potentially going to find 3 on the backside, but the rest of the chase is difficult. Hong Kong player charges on forward, but too much mobility on the side of Apex will mean that they will get out for now. Dunk wants to be the front line, wants to continue the team fight here. Unstoppable kidnaps Lulu over the wall and is going to take him down. Hong Kong player and Gulch now going to be running away as the dragon is spawning in 3, and it's going to be Apex heading for the objective.
And I think it's so hard for Asian Invasion to contest this dragon. You're up a dragon. They might want to just go up and give this, but they do not. Asian Invasion has other plans. They're going to try to look for another fight, try to get these low health bars.
Yeah, Hong Kong player trying to get into the middle of people. The ultimate does land onto Parry. Lee Sin wants to find it, but a nice root is going to keep him at bay. The exhaust is going to mean that there's simply not enough damage to finish, and it's going to be all the members of Asian Invasion falling on down, unable to find the teamfight win that they needed there. The dragon goes over to Apex, and the siege will continue.
Yeah, it was sloppy. It was not the cleanest from Apex, but ultimately the execution did come through. They were able to take that mid lane inner. They secured the dragon and so many kills as well. Felt like just not enough coordination and a little bit of desperation once again, but they were still able to find some fights, Potato. I don't think they needed to quite give so much back to Apex Ways Moonlight. Just let them siege the inners, give them those towers. They have these extra stats from the Baron, and just try to defend and hit 2 items. Like, your Twitch doesn't even have a mythic item yet. Like, that's what they needed to be playing around, not continually taking these fights even at 4v4 numbers. So a little bit over aggression, a little bit feeling like it might be too little and too late for Asian Invasion, but they still have one inner tower standing in the top lane. The Baron has now expired, and now let's see if Asian Invasion can still show signs of life.
Yeah, and it's just a second Cloud Drake for the enemy team. You can afford to give that up without the vision control, but maybe they felt that fighting was the only way back in the game. But Dunk here is looking for a fight. Gulch is going to be the target of the
Who's
enemy
Faye?
team. Their parry is disguised there. A nice root land
Wow.
straight onto the ADC. They're going to be taken off the map. Parry may be getting caught out there by Hong Kong player and does
Parry's
actually get
dead.
traded back, but there's just too many low health bars. There's too many members of Apex surrounding the players of Asian Invasion. Lulu Faye actually surviving for an impressively long time, but it will not be for much longer as there are just so many more members collapsing onto him. Wondersy claims that kill. They're ripe to take this inner tower. They get the team fight win. 1 kill, traded for 4.
Yep, and it was on the target you needed to, so good target selection from Asian Invasion onto Parry, but Goach was just not where they needed to be, caught out in danger, and then just standing in the middle, everyone collapsing from all angles. We're not able to dish out the damage. Has now completed the Trinity Force for this mythic item. But again, I mean, now the base is showing signs of weakness with the top lane inhibitor tower going down too.
Yeah, and the positioning of Apex in that fight was just brilliant. Just not giving the enemy team anywhere to run. Hong Kong players just going to get absolutely obliterated by the Nico damage. They're running into the middle of 3 people. No chance of survival. And I think that last fight, it might have even been Apex hitting the hook onto Gulch in stealth. And if so, that would have been pretty impressive. But either way, it's a decisively won team fight for Apex, continuing their dominating lead from game 1 on the road to closing out the second game.
And with 2 games down, it would mean just one more victory for Apex Ways Legends to be crowned the Sharima Cup champion in this best of 5 this evening. And you got to be thinking of your Asian Invasion, where do we go from here? Garvin not able to show up in game number 2 on this Lee Sin, did not count the minions, and now is in trouble from Vongola fam, but does escape out with the safeguard. So Garvin maybe can make a hero play at the Baron, but with 20 seconds until that buff spawns, I do expect Apex Ways to be right on it on spawn.
Yeah, and it is going to be control absolutely and totally afforded to the Apex squad here. Wards in the mid lane spawning out the enemy movement. Dunk collapsing from the top side of the jungle. There's Vongola again, 3-man ultimate. Pika Pika finds the first. Is the first to fall there. Lulu Faye in the backside. Parry actually in a bit of a precarious position here. Burns the QSS, but is going to go down. Gulch was able to pick up that kill, but gets his own life trade in response. And yeah, Walla diff a little bit too much. Garvin tries to flash away, is unable to do so, though. Lulu Faye, this last tanky member, is going to be the last surviving member. 4 members still alive for the Apex squad. 2 red buffs ticking, regenerating their HP. It's going to mean that Baron should be good.
You know, Potato, like, we're on the spectator client, and I didn't even know Vongola fam was there either. Like, yeah, this champion, when they just walked into a minion, went through the wave, and then just easily able to take the engage, no one else even had to be on the map because you have Nocturne ultimate. Lulu Faye's gonna look for something, and teleport comes in. This is gonna be the desperation.
Yeah,
Baron's
they're
gonna be
try
secured.
for it, but it's
And
just a
Hong
little
Kong
bit
player
late,
gets
and
out.
yeah, it just has to dip out. And yeah, between the Proto Belt and the Flash, there's just so much distance this Nico can close, and the positioning of this ultimate from Vongola fam has just been so good each time. It hasn't really been that the enemy team has all been clumped up in one unit. I mean, in several of these team fights, Asian Invasion has been fairly spread out, but it's been Vongola fam catching them out with the edge of the Nico ultimate, getting these 2-man, 3-man ultimates, and really setting up their team for success.
Their team has been set up for success, and now it feels like this could be the game-ending push in the next 2.5 minutes with this Baron buff secured. This dragon will be theirs. It will not be the soul, thanks to the 2 dragons that Asian Invasion took earlier on. But with inner towers destroyed, a nexus exposed in the top lane, and these Baroned up minion waves about to start coming to the base, we got to see what Asian Invasion can do to hold.
Yeah, and holding is going to be so hard. Baron is such a potent threat for their squad. Twitch, Fizz, these are not champions who are very talented at wave clear. We have Nico dipping to be a minion, but will be spotted into a ward there. Still gets the 2-man root nonetheless. They're going to try and clear this over on the tower, but the cannon minion is going to continue firing away. All 5 members of Asian Invasion trying to hold here. Dunk is in the bottom lane, so they will give this wave worth of pressure just for now, but the next wave is going to be crashing. Dunk might have to be a little bit careful, but they're applying 2 lanes of pressure very evenly here. We even have Wonder Z escorting that 3rd wave up on the top side. Engage goes on to Lulu Faye. The kidnap is used there. Perry is going to take down the tower. Garvin trying to find their way in. Paranoia is used. Dives straight onto the clump of 4 people, but that might be a little bit deep. Is forced to stopwatch there. And here we go. Once again, Vongola fam does not disappoint. It's going to be Dunk dominating here. Kaisa flying in to take the fight. Hong Kong player does land a multi-man E, but that's just not enough damage to make the victory. Vongola fam on this Nico not going to miss, not going to allow the team fight to fail. The Nexus towers are going to be under pressure. Wusher Garvin trying to do something on the backside, but Spy is going to solo ward against that. And Garvin not able to land the Q just yet. Perry is there to save their support. The Nexus is going to be falling in another good win from Apex.
Apex now takes a 2-0 lead in this best of 5 series after that dominant game 2 performance. The better draft executed early on, a little bit of mistakes from Asian Invasion, and ultimately another Nexus falls in favor of Apex Waves. Moonlight joining us again here to break down game number 2 is going to be Alternative. Alternative, you with us?
I absolutely am after that game.
Man, what happened? What happened? Break it
I
down
gotta
for us.
say, I think Vongola fan really said, "That's not how you play Nico. Let me show you how to play Nico." The usage of those Nico's passives throughout the game were really incredible. It really shows the power of the champion and why a lot of people find it to be such a great, champion for competitive. It's interesting, or I'm gonna be interested to see how the teams now place a different priority on the Nico. As we've seen, it wasn't particularly effective in game 1, but in game 2, it was, I think, one of the biggest facilitators in the early fights and the late fights. So definitely a big threat for that.
Yeah, it absolutely was such a big fight there, or kind of effect. I mean, but wasn't the only character here. It felt like all of the lanes were so dominant for Apex here. The double counter pick on the solo lanes was something we talked about. Alternative had brought it up in that pregame as we were looking at the draft here. Potato, do you think this had kind of an impact there? What do you think was really the piece that broke the camel's back for Asian Invasion in the second game?
I think that Apex just had a more coherent team comp and just executed on it better. I mean, sure, we had the wonderful Nico ults coming on in, right? But it was the rest of the team that was able to finish that puzzle. We saw there at the Herald, it was the Nico ult followed by the Nocturnal. We saw whenever we found a good engage, it would be Kaisa flying into the back line. It would be Nautilus catching people. So this just kind of like full dive style was able to consistently get onto the enemy members. And we saw kind of some aspects of Asian Invasion's team finding success, like Lulu Faye, despite being set behind into like a 5-in-1 Cassante or whatever, was able to impact the team fights a lot, was able to contribute their weight. But unfortunately, it just seemed like the rest of the team wasn't able to quite come together and have the same kind of impact that they wanted.
You're right. And this wasn't a team that necessarily, I don't think, needed to come together in terms of the 5v5 kind of, team fight identity. They wanted to play skirmishy. They wanted to play early game. But we saw the skirmish early game just responded to so well for Apex. It felt like tracking Lee Sin's early game pathing, as well as being able to just avoid some of these ganks on the top side. The Herald was a key pivotal fight here that felt like just was not able to go their way. I mean, and Vongola fam just set up those fights, felt like so well in this second match to find success. So we've seen 2 drafts now, backs against the wall early on to this series in a game 3. Alternative, what do you got to do to avoid getting 3-0'd here, you think?
I think Asian Invasion really needs to dig deep in this next draft. Going into both of these games, I think our general consensus here was that Apex had the advantage coming out of the draft. So I think, Asian Invasion, I think they're gonna have to try really hard to pull something out of their bag, which might not necessarily be an interesting pick. You know what I mean? So just trying to standard draft a little better, trying to play for your strengths a little better, because as we were saying and going into this game too, uh, they needed to get advantages in their solo lane and in the earlier parts of the game, but even with that win con, they didn't have the greatest draft to do so, if you know what I mean. Like that was their win con, but I don't think it was the greatest draft for that win con. So a little lackluster there. But yeah, I think they're gonna have to try really hard to pull something out. Um, yeah, it's gonna
Yeah.
be difficult.
Yes, yes. Another question becomes, what does that look like? Because, like you named, they got to pull something out
Mhm.
here. Apex shown that they can just dive in. I mean, you can go into kind of a full peel, full retreat kind of thing. Honestly, I thought what Asian Invasion pulled out in game one had potentials, had hopes of being successful, just didn't fight around the timers when it needed to find success.
Yep.
And it felt like this draft was very much just like piecing things together. I didn't see that same cohesive theme here in here. While meanwhile, Apex has really found cohesive identities and executed on the right timers to find success. So in game number 3, backs are against the wall for Asian Invasion. Apex just has to keep this pressure going. What are some things we got to be aware of here in this third game, Potato? What do you think's got to happen really to get Asian Invasion back in this series?
I think you have to have a more stable early and first few fights. I think you really got to look at the way you're executing around these first couple of objectives. Because I think the pattern we've seen in both of the first two games is that you have lanes that largely go okay. You're going to those like first one or two dragons, first herald in a pretty even game state, and then the execution is not there. They get the team fight wins, and then kind of take that and just roll you over throughout the rest of the game. I
Yeah.
think Asian Invasion have had good fights, but they come way too late in a state where the game state is just way too impossible. So I think if they are able to keep it stable for a little bit longer, I think they might have a chance.
I think they absolutely might. Yeah, and I don't want to discount this squad. I think a pick like a Renekton could be something maybe they want to look at. I think something that just gives them some more agency, like you said, even if it's, yeah, alternative named. Like, it doesn't have to be something fancy or showy or like completely back pocket, but like what's just going to give you the tools to be successful? Things like just point and click CC, something to lock down carries, something that gives you some disengage tools too. I think all of those have options to maybe create success, but it's got to happen in 14 minutes because Apex Ways has done a really good job at pushing a tempo once they have it.
Yeah, I think we've seen how much both of these teams have been leaning into team fighting. Very early into the game, there's been a lot of team fighting, 4v4s, even a couple 5v5s here and there. And it's clear that Apex just loves fighting objectives. I think looking at their stats in the playoffs before this match, they had 8 Barons in 6 games, I believe was the stat, which is kind
Wow.
of ridiculous. I think that should be every Baron in theory.
Yeah.
So yeah, they love playing the team fights. They always move their support up for first herald. I think Asian Invasion can take advantage of this kind of predictable play style,
Mhm.
if you can call it that, right? So they've been doing the same thing in these two games. Maybe draft a team fighting comp, right? So the game two comp was not particularly good for team fighting, even though that's what they leaned into a couple times. So yeah, maybe go towards the team fighting. Maybe an earlier execution team fighting would be good for that. And hopefully they're able to find the advantages that they can earlier in the game. Yep.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, it feels like alternative at this point, they do have to really pivot to trying to exploit the play style because I don't think you're able to exploit the champions. Asian Invasion are very proficient champions themselves. These are all Diamond 1 and Master players. These are high skill players, but it feels like, the play style is where you need to start finding some cracks in this armor for Asian Invasion. Yeah, whether that is a team fight, it's an earlier spike, kind of level 6 team fight presence, are all different ways that they might be looking to take this game 3. Asian Invasion has opted to stay on the red side for this third match. And as we get into the draft, we're going to have to see the adaptations that need to be made. And meanwhile, Apex, can they hold steady for 3 games back to back to back and claim the championship?
Yeah, and that would be a pretty impressive feat if they are able to close out all 3 cleanly here. I think some picks that I might be looking towards as well for Asian Invasion, we've seen Hong Kong player have good success on Annie, kind of on the road to playoffs. I think that's a pretty high value champion, not too high execution threshold, fits in a lot of comps. We've seen them pull out a pretty threatening mid Kennen before in past seasons. So, maybe something like that could be an option for them as well. But yeah, I think if Apex are going to consistently team fight there, those are champions that can really kind of take the fight right back.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, there is ways to just fight that back. Bans are looking at this point. This is that Nico that you talked about here. Alternative. First thing you mentioned, right, was like, we got to see what they do with this pick. Asian Invasion's decision is to put it onto the ban table, meaning the picks have opened up even more. No longer do you have the Olaf on the ban table. No longer do you even have the Misfortune on the ban table. So some choices for Perry potentially if they want that pick early on. But instead, 0 seconds, no pick at all, it looks like. What does that mean?
Said we don't need the 5th champion.
We don't need it. We're going 4v5 here. It looks like Varus is going to be the choice for Perry here in game 3.
Yeah, so looking at that, these bans, it is clear, they saw some issues that they needed to address in the first 2 games. So the Varus first pick for Apex is a very safe pick. Varus goes with any kind of team comps. He could build different ways. Oh, it looks like they're pivoting back to Seraphine. Interested? Okay, yeah, so it's probably the Seraphine bot again, unless their mid laner plays it.
This is looking like an HHG draft, alternative. Like this is like, all right, this is Kai and Ben coming in here on the Seraphine Nautilus bot lane. And it showed promise, I think, in game 1, right? It was more just like Asian Invasion didn't choose the timers that they needed to have damage. I mean, you heard me harp on it in the draft there. It's like, not enough damage, not enough damage, not enough damage, and then too far behind to have damage. And so, the way to counter that is survive through it, and it worked partially in game 1 because of the Mountain Dragons. And in game 2, it looks like Apex is going to be able to pivot. I mean, this spy support for Apex ways, I'm impressed. Game 1 picking TK, game 2 going with the Nautilus, and now game 3 on a Taric. Like 3 very stylistically different champions.
Yeah, and I'm mentally ready to be even more impressed because not only is Taric a great matchup into Nautilus, able to ward off that aggression that the Nautilus can bring, but also I believe a bit of a signature pick for Spy, has played it multiple times on the road to playoffs and has it banned against him multiple times as well. So I think this might be a good opportunity to kind of show off what this pick is capable of.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm a little worried. Sorry, I'm a little worried about Asian Invasion's draft going into these last few picks because as we saw, they had the double solo counter in game 1. This game, it looks like they're only going to have one of those because Apex decided not to draft their solo lanes early. So yeah, I think they're going to have to put the bans onto their top laners still. A very heavy CC comp coming in for Asian Invasion, so I think the Olaf needs to be banned. I think there's a big chance the Gangplank will be banned again. And yeah, once again, lacking a lot of damage, it looks like, for Asian Invasion.
Yeah, the damage does become scary. I mean, you named the Maokai alternative as an option for this top laner for Asian Invasion, something that Lulu Fei has shown, has found proficiency in as well. I am worried about this trap, though, that you just named in terms of the damage, because that was really the Horcrux of their game number 1 there. Like, that was the big issue in their play, not able to find the damage. So where do you bring it in now? You got to find in either your mid laner or your jungler potentially. And like, what are going to be these hyper carry options from either of these roles? Potato, do you kind of know what they're going to be looking for?
I can't say for sure, but I do like the pairings for the Seraphine much better this time around. You have the front line, you have the survivability, and even though Asian Invasion currently with these 3 picks might be lacking damage, I think Apex's team comp is a little less cohesive than the previous 2 comps that they have drafted so far. Nocturne is going to have a hard time diving any of these 3 champions with the amount of sustain and survivability that they can put out. And Taric and Varus, these are not champions that are really good at following up on dive either. So we might even have to see the Paranoia be used semi-defensively in some of these team fights. I'm not sure, but we could have the inklings of a team that's really difficult to chew through. And yeah, Renekton, this is a great pairing for the Seraphine as well, and might be bringing it back to some of the Seraphine comps that they've played kind of on the way to playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking this is going to be a mid lane, right? Like, is that kind of what you're thinking here too? Alternatives, the Crocodile in the mid lane?
It has been played in the mid lane. I have a hard time believing they would blind it top, but I mean, it's not particularly great blinded mid either. There's the Olaf showing that we were talking about. If the Olaf gets rolling, he will be able to absolutely run through the relatively low damage of Asian Invasion and just wreak havoc in the team fights. But yeah, as Potato was mentioning, I think the Nocturne looks a lot less cohesive in this team comp for Apex. There's not a great dive target. If you do try to dive onto a Seraphine, you're gonna have a big Nautilus, Maokai, or Renekton smacking you. So I think it looks less good this game. It popped off last game. I think they're just confident on the Nocturne, and I'm also confident in their Nocturne at this point. But yeah, these last couple picks are gonna matter a lot for both these team comps, I think.
Yep, and a couple champions that have hit the ban table. I guess it is gonna be Syndra, but this Olaf in particular. I mean, Dunk, we already named it. 67% win rate, nearly 100 games on the champion here. I mean, one of the top premier players for Apex. And now, where do you round out the draft here? Couple of hovers coming in.
Wow.
I mean, these could be jungle picks. If it is going to be Maokai and Renekton in solo lanes, it's kind of what I'm expecting is Wosher Garvin to play something aggressive. I don't think you would stick him on the Maokai. And with Talon being hovered,
I do actually think this is the Maokai jungle.
really?
If I were to say, yeah, I think this would be Renekton top, Maokai jungle, Talon mid. Just off of what I would think would be best. I don't know exactly how some of these matchups would go, like the Olaf into the Maokai, for example. But yeah, we'll have to see. I think there's a lot of chances for different movement around here.
Yeah, I mean, and it might be playing a facilitator role. Garvin definitely has played 2 games on aggressive champions, full damage Hecarim, and then jumped into the Lee Sin without success. So maybe just playing a facilitator role. But this top laner as well, we named that this was a player, Lulu Lufei, who does like playing the Maokai, has found success with it. But there's still question marks, like you had named, on like where the champions are going to go. Well, what do we kind of think now? I mean, less cohesion, but still some options for this Apex Ways squad. Another 3 new champions for this team that we have not seen yet, being the Tarek, Olaf, and Syndra. I mean, what's going to happen here? What do we think as we're looking at these teams across the board?
I think that Olaf is going to be the key for Apex's team comp here. I think if I was Asian Invasion, I probably would have rather dropped, say, the GP ban, even though it had a monstrous performance in that first game, in consideration of the options, because you are running something that's kind of like lower damage. And I think chewing through this Olaf is going to be really difficult, and you don't have a great way of running away from him either, right? You have a Seraphine and 4 melee champions. That's kind of where Olaf wants to be, and you pair it with a Tarek, and I think that really fixed a lot of the issues that could have potentially arose for Apex's comp. I guess there is still the potential for maybe either Syndra or Varus to kind of get caught out. Neither of them are particularly mobile. You can have a Maokai ult coming over from the middle of nowhere, Talon jumping in from the other side. You can get a carry taken out right away, but my eyes are going to be on the Olaf and on how Asian Invasion respond to that pick.
This is going to be Renekton picked for the top lane here. So you think this can be Maokai in the jungle, and then yeah, that's what it's looking like. Your alternative.
Yep. So that's what made the most sense to me here. I think Renekton would maybe have too much of a difficult time into Syndra. It is nice to see the potential counter picks, but yeah. So seeing they could still switch it up. We'll have to see towards the end of the champ select, but yeah, I think this might be a difficult game if they're not able to shut out the Olaf, like Potato said. I think all eyes are on the Olaf pick here.
Yeah, and all eyes have been on Dunk throughout this series as one of those premier top laners. Has made easy work, it feels like, of Lulu in the top lane. I mean, not to say, discredit this player who has found some solo kills, able to get some damage as well, but just the team fight impact that Dunk has been pretty incredible for this Apex Wave squad. I mean, and so feels like Talon kind of has to be the one moving around the map. This is a very mobile mid lane assassin. Once again, Asian Invasion does not have a premier marksman, and so they're relying on this AD damage from Talon and Renekton to be that bolster up that squad. It's also 4 melee champions with Seraphine. Like, as we see these 10 champions locked in, does Asian Invasion have an opportunity to bring us to a game 4 and maybe even a game 5?
I think there is definitely potential in this team comp. I think this is Asian Invasion's most cohesive team comp out of all of the 3 games that they have drafted. Sure, I think the Olaf will be difficult, and I think, I might even want to see Tarek picking up like a Shirelles here or something to extend that kind of drive to make sure that Olaf can just stick as well as possible onto their back line. But, if Centroveris, if these champions are not able to keep safety, we might have some good flanks from Renekton or Maokai. We can have some flash stun plays. We can have some big Seraphine ult extensions, right? There's definitely a lot of great team fighting tools that Asian Invasion has brought along here.
Alternative, what are your kind of final thoughts here before Game 3? This could be the concluding game of our grand finals. What do you think as we see 10 champs locked in and Apex up 2-0?
Yep. So I think, the series that we've seen so far is not the only picture, right? So Asian Invasion has shown great signs of life in both games, despite being far down due to some early mistakes. So I think this is still a series. I don't think this is closed out whatsoever. And I agree with Potato. This is their most cohesive looking comp. Hopefully, they're able to play around the win conditions that they set for themselves. I think they might have a little trouble in that, similar to game 1, their bot jungle damage is not particularly amazing early game. I think they're very beefy, right? They have a lot of sustain, but maybe they won't be able to get the picks that they want to look for. So yeah, I think we're gonna have to see how the teams play out the objectives once again, because that seemed to be the main catalyst for movement in the games before. So yeah, I'm excited to see how they're able to play this one out.
Well, we will have to see as well, and we want to know your thoughts. The prediction is live for game number 3. So far, if you have been voting for the Apex squad, you have been right in both of these games. But in game 3, you've heard it from us, and now we want to see. This could be anyone's game 3. Remember, this is our grand finals of Style Esports Stream, a division between Asian Invasion and Apex Moonlight. After this spectator delay, we will be starting game number 3. So take a quick break, and we'll see you in just a couple of minutes. The summoner spells have been locked. The abilities have been chosen. The Rift is live for game number 3 here of this best of 5 grand finals in our Shreema division. Once again, I am Llama alongside Potato to bring you the call in this finals matchup. Pretty standard. We'll have to see make it or break it for Asian Invasion now, down 2 games in this best of 5. So they might be going home. Not only is there the victory of the Shreema Cup, but $700 grand prize for the first place team.
Yep, this could be the final matchup of our finals matchup. And yeah, it is time for Asian Invasion to perform. Gotta drink your water, sit up in your chair, kind of wake up a little bit, because yeah, this is the crucial game for them. And I think this is the best chance of all the drafts. I think that they've come away with this series so far. I think this is the best one they got. So I really hope they deliver.
Yep. I mean, me too, Potato. I really do want to see this be a competitive series. Apex has just felt so dominant. Once they've got an inch, they have taken a mile. They've also taken 2 Nexuses, a number of Barons, Dragons as well, right? Not only a mile have they taken. And like you said, I think this is the best chance. Seraphine in game number 1 for Goach did look strong. It did look powerful. It was more just the team fight timers. So I like that this team has gone back to that pick, as well as introduced the Renekton that we kind of hinted at too. But eyes are going to be on this top lane. We already see this Broloff throwing down some axes aggressively onto Renekton. Again, this is a master tier top laner, nearly a Olaf one trick, been banned away in the last 2 games. We got to see what Dunk can do in game 3.
Yeah, and yeah, this is the crucial pick for them. We'll have to see, if this Olaf gets rolling, it's going to be bad news. But hey, at least Renekton, very strong early game champion, can kind of match the aggression, might be able to ward off that potential laning pressure that Dunk is able to deliver, and hopefully also make a good impact in the team fights, which actually we have been seeing Lulu do throughout the course of the series.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this has kind of been that shining factor here. But already, as we say their name, they're in trouble, up a level. But Wondersy is here.
Yep, gets that first dash there on the Renekton. Is forced to flash, though, as that second dash, unfortunately, not quite available. Was not able to find that slide. We do have a bit of trading there in the bot lane as well, but I imagine that this is going to be pretty stable there on the opposite side of the map.
Yep, I do expect some stability. The other thing to name is actually Pika Pika. This has been a player that has locked in Lulu the last 2 games, this time on an aggressive Nautilus pick. So a different showing from the support role for Asian Invasion. And I do actually like that synergistically with the Seraphine paired a little bit more, as well as opening up for windows like this. Take a look at Pika Pika, already moving on to Vongola Fan. Garvin moved in, not going to find a play, but as an aggressive support champion that is allowed to roam, you can look for angles like this, which was something that was missing from that role in these last 2 games.
Yeah, and I definitely think Seraphine Nautilus is a much better pairing than Seraphine Lulu. Lulu usually kind of wants to enchant someone, and Seraphine, not a champion that gets enchanted all that well. Here you can take advantage of the wave clear of the Seraphine, go roam around the map if you want. You can look for kind of like active picks. Now, I do think it might be a little harder in this game because you don't have that many great hook targets in these team fights, but I think the potential is still better than the other pick that they've shown so far.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And the other kind of stylistically different thing that Asian Invasion is locked in for game 3 is actually not as much of an early game aggressive damage focused jungler for Wosher Garvin. We named that this was a player that likes to be beefed up, likes to be that primary focus. This time on the Maokai pick, playing much more of a facilitator role, allowing Hong Kong player on an unorthodox lock-in of a Talon to hopefully show what they are able to do. So a couple of different looks here, and maybe it's what Asian Invasion needs to be able to step up in this 3rd game. But so far across the map, it is dead even 5 minutes in, and I think you'll like that if you're Asian Invasion.
Yeah, we do like to see that so far. Hopefully that continues to be the case for a while. And I really do like the Maokai pick here as well. I mean, as mentioned previously, it has been something banned away from this team multiple times, and Wosher Garvin has piloted it before to good success as well. Pika Pika looking for a bit of a roam onto the mid lane, but
does land it.
actually does land the hook, yeah, but Hong Kong player
Gets
is
it.
already based, but doesn't matter. Just Giga Chad ignites the enemy mid laner, takes that money. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you can't do that on Lulu.
No, you can't. You cannot quite do that. That is factual.
That is that.
Actual
I understand how
ownership.
League of Legends works. Look at that potato. But I mean, off of this pick too, looks like the rest of Asian Invasion also knows how League of Legends work, and they know when the mid laner dies, there's a timer for the dragon, and looks like the rest of the squad is going to move on to this first Infernal Dragon. So for the first time in this series, potato, we're seeing an advantage early on for Asian Invasion.
Yep, we love to see that. Maokai also keeping up in farm with the Nocturne here, who, as previously mentioned, typically wants to rush that level 6. So as a potentially slower farming, more utility-focused jungler, that's something that you definitely like to see as well.
Oh, 100% here. So, it does take them a little bit of time as they don't have the damage quite yet. But ultimately, Garvin, I said Infernal, but it is an Ocean Dragon that is going to be secured early on for the squad. Again, a good position to be in. And it looks like Dunk trading aggressively here really seems to know the limits on this champion and forces Lulu Fei under tower at very low health without a teleport available. Kind of between a rock and a hard place now, hitting level 6. At least has that ultimate available if they need to pop the Dominus.
Yeah, Dunk playing that wave state really well. Lulufei felt pressure to kind of like find that trade or mark the enemy top laner because he did have that wave pushing away from him, was in kind of a disadvantaged lane position. Dunk patiently waiting in that bush was able to initiate a good trade, one hit away from finding the kill. So great job there. We do have a bit of more trading here in the bot lane. Spy showing what this counter engage of the potential of the Terra can do there. Pika Pika lands the hook, but does not matter. The advantage still goes over to the Apex bot lane.
So Apex taking a little advantage where they can find them, even though they are down this early dragon. And now is the timer. Alternative name this in the pregame screen, Potato. Remember what happens right around the 8-minute mark?
Yep, it is going to be the Herald spawning and most likely a move from the side of Apex. So we've got 45 seconds before that ends up happening. Now, this time around, we still can't see great moves being matched here by the Asian Invasion team. Nautilus, a much more proactive champion in these kind of Herald contests than Lulu was previously, and Seraphine able to easily 1v2 kind of like clear these waves should she need to do so. Does seem like for the moment, though, that the Apex bot lane is a little bit stuck here in lane. It is going to be a nice stun landing here from the Taric, but it's level 6 on the Seraphine, so could look to turn things around there. It's going to blow the flash from Spy. The second stun does not land, and that's going to give the go-ahead for Pika Pika to look for something a little bit more. But Perry is just free hitting there on the backside, has the lethal tempo fully stacked, and here is the first paranoia as the jungler and mid laner both moving on down. It's going to be the flash expended from the Olaf, too, looking for the kill under tower to
Dominus.
dive onto Lulufei, but a nice flash play away from the Renekton, gets it right on back, has been getting bullied out all series, and finally is able to find something back. Is down a lot of farm, though, from that previous play, but still, you love to see it.
Yeah, 250 LP Masters Olaf one trick. Who says Lulu Fei getting that kill under tower, playing it so well. Wilshire Garvin now finding this play, forcing the flash out.
Yeah, and there's the value of the Maokai, right? Really hard to get away from Hong Kong player playing that very patiently, and here is the strength of the talent as well, able to backflip parkour everywhere around the map, and yeah, there is the combo. You cannot run away from that. Mongola fan blowing the flash, but it does not matter, and right now it is Asian Invasion taking the lead early on for the first time.
This is what we wanted to see. It looks like the recipe is starting to bake out perfectly here, getting the right ratios in these different role assignments and getting some early kills. It's by far away from being over here, but I'm really liking this adaptation that Asian Invasion has made in a do or die situation, and they're going to keep this aggression going on a Perry in the bot lane.
Yeah, Perry ultis in, but that does not matter. The dive is started. Garvin tanks things up to start, gets out of tower range. Perry flashes away, gets the trade kill, actually, and Go just getting taken perilously low. Perry's able to find the double in a 1v3 tower dive, and now Wonder Z is there on the backline to pick up that final kill. Pika Pika tries to run away, but the claw is going to follow right on up, and Perry playing that dive very well, dodging the necessary abilities and getting all of the kills for their team.
Yeah, I mean, a very botched dive. I mean, just as we're taking their praises, a little bit of a misstep in the bot lane from Asian Invasion. As well as Perry played that dive, I do have to fault Wilshire Garvin for how they played it on the Maokai. They picked up aggro with the sapling. Let me hold that thought in top lane fight.
Yeah, that's going to be the sustained damage and turn potential of the Olaf there. Lulu Fei may have found the turnaround play previously, but this time around, it's Dunk getting the solo kill.
Yeah, gonna get that solo kill traded on back in the top lane, but that bot lane play on a parry. Garvin tanked the early damage and tower aggro with the sapling, but then immediately used the twisted advance to go under tower. Typically, that's the ability you use to drop aggro later on. So proper sapling use, but then had no way to juggle the aggro back. And so they took one more tower shot than they needed to there, switched aggro late, and then Perry was able to clean up that fight. So a little bit of misexecution by Asian Invasion, properly punished from Perry. And I mean, we said this, 8-minute Herald play was going to be happening, but take a look. Members still in the bot side for Apex Waves, and they're trying to force onto this top laner once again.
Yeah, Lulufei was trying to get that wave in, but the rest of the team is on the opposite side of the map. You can't be making that play. It looks like it might be a successful response play, though. Perry under high threat here. It is a teleport coming in from Vongolafam, but Hong Kong player tightly behind. Can they turn this around in time? Goach still alive here. The damage is going on to Vongolafam. The Syndra ulti goes out in response. It is Spy not able to find the rest of the damage onto Pika Pika. A double kill going over to Hong Kong player. So despite the loss in the top lane, they are able to find 3 kills back on the bot side, get the time on the tower, and move back to catch the wave.
They are able to find a great punish on the top side, or on the bot side, but even with that play, Asian Invasion has already lost their advantage, now down 1,000 gold potato. I don't even know what happened here in these couple of minutes, but ultimately that botch dive bot side is a massive blunder that gave them away the gold lead, and is still now feels like they got to climb up a little bit as the second dragon is on the map. Garvin's going to start it up, and they just need to keep trying to stack these dragons up.
Yeah, I think it was a disaster on both sides of the map, actually. That bot lane dive, of course, having huge consequences, but also Dunk able to get crucial kills on the top side, able to find these kinds of trades when the wave is at a good position to deny CS from his opposing laner and to take what is now 4 plates away out of this top tower. And we said that Olaf might be a big problem in this game, and it's shaping up like it. A bit of trading back here on the bot side, though, as Spy wants to find a bit of damage onto Goach, but Goach happy to trade that one right back. Spy taken down half HP. Lulufei moving down for this dragon fight potentially, but Hong Kong player is very far away. Does have the TP available. Lulufei potentially caught in the middle of 3 players, though.
No flash.
Going to start the fight here, burning the ultimate early, and Dunk is going to be CC immune under tower. This time around, doesn't even get the chance to flash. Hong Kong player is going to be able to find Spy, but a nice snipe from Perry is going to get the shutdown response. Almost trades it back right onto Goach. This is so much damage coming out from Varus, but also Asian Invasion and investing so many players onto the bot side will mean that a bunch of tower damage will go down onto mid. They can break this whole tower open with the Rift Herald drop and just rotate straight to Dragon.
Yeah, just better macro once again from Apex Waves Moonlight here. Feels like they were able to play the map properly, take down the mid laner first with Lulufei coming on down for the dragon. Even though the bot lane play went in the favor of Asian Invasion, the rest of the map did not. This is now going to be the Chemtech Dragon picked up for the squad. And just like game number 1, we're going to be seeing a Mountain Soul on the Rift in this third game.
Yeah, and this Mountain Soul can be very important for both teams here. Of course, Asian Invasion would love to secure that with the kind of bruisery, sustainy kind of team fight that they want to be pulling out here. But similarly, if Olaf is able to pick that one up, that's going to only exacerbate what is already brewing to be a very big problem in this top laner.
Yep, I mean, it does make this damage top laner just tanky as well. And when they go Ragnarok and run in, I mean, there's nothing to stop them. We named in that pregame alternative mention that there's so much crowd control drafted from Asian Invasion to try to stop some of these characters. But the one that it can't stop is critically this Olaf. So again, still going to be this point of focus for Asian Invasion to try to take down. Not saying Apex has all of the eggs in the Olaf basket quite yet, but still definitely a shining point here in this third game match.
Yeah, and Varus here also going a very heavy DPS build to chew through all of these frontliners, and being 5-3 here is going to be very successful. A nice catch here in the mid lane, though. Unfortunately, going over to Pika Pika. I believe the Aftershock took that one, but a nice CC chain showing the potential of this lockdown composition.
Yep, I mean, that's what we wanted to see. However, the Dominus is going to get popped and flashed away, but it's not going to be enough.
Yeah, unfortunately, not enough there. The dive is good. Perry taking a lot of damage there, but yeah.
Oh, look at these members of Asian Invasion,
Great
though.
shot. But yeah, 3 members moving on down. Twisted Advance is available. Looks like they want to stay for this tower. Can the members of Asian Invasion get here fast enough? They are going to be spotted around on the ward the whole way down. Wonder Z does not get rooted up. And here is the TP in. Mongola Fam is going to be joining the fight. Parry cleanses away from the damage, flashes away, and now the Taric ultimate is going to keep him nice and safe. Wonder Z is going to just shield up the Nocturne ultimate. So these abilities are not doing what they need to. Hong Kong player finds it, but Olaf is going to cut down the members on the top side. Pika Pipa surely going to be the next one to fall. Flashes away from this terrifying berserker of a Viking there, but does not get the hook into the wall, and so will instead find himself plummeted straight back to his fountain. Lulufei invests his teleport for nothing to be found there, and it is a big fight win for Apex.
Yeah, it felt like the chase looked okay after the initial resources were committed on the dive, but the rest of the members did not have the damage. Parry still had summoners available, had to expend both of them, but lived to tell the tale. And then in the backline, Dunk shredded through without Ragnarok. And I mean, all of a sudden catapulted to 4-1 on this pick. 129 farm to their name as well. Hong Kong player forcing a flash out and still finding some angles themselves. This is the player, if you're an Asian Invasion fan, that you got to be putting your faith in now, because Hong Kong player 5-1-2 on this talent. This unconventional pick does seem to be paying dividends at least early on.
Yeah, very strong here, and maybe a glimmer of hope for their team. That previous team fight, yeah, just too many resources kind of tossed into the ether there. Maokai ult hitting only one person, getting cleansed away immediately. Nocturne ult just completely absorbed by that, or Nautilus ult completely absorbed by that Nocturne shield. But here we go. Parry here, no summoners available, but the hook is not going to land, and that's going to be the go button that Spy wants. But the counter engage is good.
Here it is.
All the ultimates landing on Talon is going to flash on against the flashless members of the side. Wonder Z is going to get aggressed on.
Dunk.
But here we go. Dunk gets the Ragnarok, and Roland started. He's going to take down one, going to immediately go against the backline. And look at this, just no damage.
That's 2.
No
That's 3.
surviving. And this is the problem we were talking about. This is the Olaf just going absolutely berserk against the entirety of the enemy team. Was in like a 1v3, 1v4. Yes, the quadra kill would have had the Penta if Hong Kong player does not have backflips for days. And it was looking like a good fight, and then Olaf shows up.
It was looking like a good series, and then Dunk is on the side of Apex Ways Moonlight, I think, Potato. Holy smokes. I mean, the fight looked great. The counter engage was solid. I thought that was the angle. But like you said, Dunk showed up, and Dunk showed up, if you know what I mean. An amazing 4 kills, 1,000 gold shutdown now if anyone is able to slay this Broloff. But they are chugging their squad to a victory.
Yeah, and there's no running away. There's no killing this guy. There's only death. And he has brought down, cutting down 4 members of the enemy team virtually by himself there. An absolutely disgusting team fight, and exactly the reason why they picked this champion.
Yeah, I mean, and exactly why this champion is so powerful in the hands of Dunk. Exactly why it was banned away in the last 2 games. And just showing so much power. And now, like, you can just hold this space so successfully. Asian Invasion has no business even being near this squad. Like you said, what can you do to Dunk? You just gotta be able to try to kite it out, because you can't crowd control him, and you just have to basically rely on Olaf to make a mistake at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, at this game state, it seems almost as if an escape is or a mistake is not possible. I mean, you have the Shirelius Battle Song coming over from the Taric, you got the Ghost, and you know the enemy players, they have lockdown tools. They do not have escape tools of any sort, and no one can kill you. There's just simply not enough damage on the enemy team. And here we go, Hong Kong player forced to run away. Pika Pika trying to find an engage here. It's a nice set of ultimates, but the Taric ultimate just going to turn things right back around, and there goes Dunk again. Going on to the first one, now going on to the Seraphine. How can you run away? The answer is you can't. And now Lulufei, unable to find the members, Hong Kong player, even trying to trade one back, diving in, but just unable to. Dunk is going to find himself in another 1v2, but the more the merrier, he says, as Lulufei is going to be bouncing around, running away. Wonder Z going to disengage Garvin on the backside. The tower is going to fall. 3 members are falling. The Rift Tower just dropped. They're onto the Inhibitor Tower. They're going to get probably a double crash here, and yeah, game is looking dire.
Game is looking dire when the Nexus is exploding or about to here. The inhibitor is down at 20 minutes and 20 seconds. There's a Rift Herald in your base. What can you do? They're going to try to clear it out a little bit, but I mean, it's dunk, dunk, dunk right here. I mean, dunk, dunk, goose, it feels like. But everyone's running away from this player because they are terrorizing the Rift.
Yeah, and I really think it's just this one pick here. I think leave up any of the other two top laners, but what can you do? The game is already underway here. Yeah. You've got to try and work with what you've got here. So Baron is on the map. The bottom inhibitor is falling, so Apex probably will be looking for that big objective with that inhib pressure. They're going to move in, get some early control of this area.
Trying to establish what they can for Asian Invasion 2, but Pika is even in danger just trying to clear this out. Sapling's going to give a little bit of information here, but with one member top, one member bot, and only 3 from Asian Invasion mid, any kind of aggression they need to back away from, and they're doing just that.
Yeah, and Asian Invasion is trying their best to kind of do as much as they can to counter some of this pressure, but the waves are not in their favor. The vision is not in their favor. Apex really has pretty total control around this objective for the moment.
And haven't even started it up quite yet. There's a little bit scary to be in the pit against a 5v5 team fight that has been drafted from Asian Invasion, because there are still options. Fade does have teleport available to join this fight. So there's some hesitancy still from Apex Moonwaves when they are this far ahead, are up 2 games in this best of 5 series. They don't need to force anything too soon. They don't want to throw away a chance at securing this championship in this grand finals. So instead, they're just going to try to soak up a little bit of vision. But now the Baron is going to be started and is going to force the hand of Asian Invasion.
Yeah, look at where Dunk is sitting, right in melee range of any kind of enemy approach. We have Spy likely to link up with him soon here. The Baron is down to half HP. Hong Kong player flanking from one side. The Maokai ultimate gets used. Dunk taken down to half is going to get Ragnarok. And now there goes the Taric ultimate. There goes the Nocturne ultimate. The Seraphine catches a few people, but Dunk is still alive. Goats running for their life. Lulufei might actually find Wonder Z on the backside if he has enough chase potential there. Dunk getting quite low. Actually, a good fight. Unfortunately, the hook does not land. Dunk now flashing forward and a bit of a heal, but gets the shutdown. Maokai or Renekton gets the drop hit. The hook is landing true from Pika. The engage is there. The follow-up CC is there. A disjointed fight. Asian Invasion finds the Baron when all the odds are against them.
Yeah, the odds are against them, and it feels like the game is not theirs yet. Potato. The big piece we were looking at was Dunk. They had the ultimate from Taric. They had a way that they might have been able to secure it, but ultimately that 5v5 still favored Asian Invasion. They are hanging on to their last thread here in this best of 5 grand finals in game number 3.
Yeah, and what the condition that Olaf really needs here is a sustained fight where he is able to stick onto the enemy with the support of his team. But, he was looking for a good flank angle there, but unfortunately found himself too isolated from the rest of his support. Sure, he got the Taric ultimate coming in, but that was the only tool he was afforded. Took half of his HP before the ultimate started, and the rest of the fight was good. A great find from Asian Invasion and some much-needed reprieve for their team.
Yeah, but the next find is going to be Apex Ways. At this point, the dragon is spawning. It would be their 3rd and 2nd mountain. This is still a very dangerous soul to be giving over, and they don't want to give it up quite yet, but only 2 members are here from Asian Invasion. This is bad. You got to run.
Yeah, Paranoia is used early here. They're engaging fully onto Garvin. I think they might have had the information about the whereabouts of the enemy team. The Encore is going to miss, and that is such a huge team fighting tool. Asian Invasion, though, is electing to give this away, so losing that ultimate might not be the worst thing. They're using their Baron pressure, trading on the opposite side of the map. They know it's not sold just yet. Don't think they thought they could take the team fight. So, trying to get the best that they can off the map.
Yeah, and I think this was about the best you can ask for if you are going to be Asian Invasion. However, they have the Baron buff, and you would expect to see a little bit more. The gold deficit is only 1,300 gold, so they're really not that big of a deficit. 3 items completed for this Talon, who is continuing to split push here. A couple of items as well completed for the jungler. 3 on Seraphine. There is gold in this team. There is abilities to take fights. I think Pika Pika's grateful that that hook didn't land on the dunk, but
Yeah, would have
like
been a little rough.
the macro is still on point from Apex, and with that inhibitor exposed in the top lane, there's a constant threat. But Hong Kong player constantly threatening the opposite side of the map, so he can take an inner tower, and that would be even more gold. But now you have to hold at a 4v5.
Yeah, no one matching just yet, and we do have TP available for the talent here, so can find a way to join in. Wonder
Here's the
C is going to
teleport.
actually find himself caught in the middle of two
No
people. It is
encore.
teleport in the middle of
Now
four,
they
though.
have it.
The Taric ultimate is going
They
to
got
be
one.
missing parry there. The Duskblade is going to save him for the moment, but now he's stunned up and
Look at
goes
Dunk.
down. Dunk finds it. Wonder Z is under pressure on the opposite side, but
Dunk
the
has
Olaf
two.
is running. Lands the axe of the
There's their
first
ult.
one. There's
There's
the
their ult now.
knockback from the Maokai. Their ult has ran out. A nice
They
stun from
win this.
Ultra, but a big shutdown from Lulu Faye. Can they find the rest of the chase? Seraphine is trying to speed up the team, trying to get them in. Washer Garvin getting up a little bit of extra HP. Mongola
Garvin.
fam trying to keep the rest of the members at bay here. Sweeper is
Garvin.
activated. The chase is on. There is going to be one more ability needed from Seraphine to get the catch, but not quite there just yet. Still needs more of a speed up. There is not just enough reach there on the Apex Spy with the stun on the side, and it looks like the chase is off. Some nice pickups, but ultimately won't be able to get more. Does have a wave to escort, probably can trade for this tower at the very least, but still, you like to see another successful team fight fought, and now for the first time in a long time, gold lead goes to Asian Invasion.
Yes, that is critical. Potato was about to mention the exact same thing. The first time in this mid game that the gold lead has swung back to Asian Invasion. It might not feel like it, but ultimately the fight is going well, and I think Asian Invasion has adapted beautifully to this major threat from Olaf. When all the champion can do is run at you and kill you, all you got to do is run away and not get killed. And Asian Invasion, these last couple of fights, have been able to do just that and have been successful in doing so. Waited for the Ragnarok to go down and then still had enough firepower to take this champion down on the back end. So now 2 minutes, this is going to be the next critical fight where Baron is alive. The soul for Apex Ways is alive as well. And this game is just incredibly close in game number 3.
Yeah, and not only have they adapted to deal with the Olaf, they have also found a successful series of moves against the rest of his team. In that previous team fight, we saw a TP coming in from Talon and immediately going in to burst the two carries. Spy was not able to get his Taric ultimate down in time. We had Wonder Z isolated in a 1v2 on the other side, just taken down without really anything gained in response. So this Olaf, despite being so incredibly strong, had to kind of play alone for much of these fights, and that's how Asian Invasion was able to find these two big pickups. And yeah, with these next objectives spawning, Baron on the map soon, Dragon Soul on the map soon, we'll have to see how Asian Invasion continue to play this one out.
Because Asian Invasion needs this next objective, Potato. They need to get this dragon. Otherwise, having that Mountain Soul is such a monstrous advantage for Apex Ways. Remember, they need to win this game to stay alive in the grand finals this evening. And so this dragon, it could make or break the series as it stands.
Yeah, and Asian Invasion are the ones that will get control of this area first. Not commonly that has happened in this series so far. A bit of poke getting traded on both sides. The Maokai sapling applying some burn. Parry getting taken a little bit low. Mid-wave being contested here. It's high stakes for both these teams.
Yeah, but take a look at the bot wave here, Potato. A double super wave is going to be building up now as this wave dies. So minions are going to start flooding in the base in just about 30 seconds after this next wave goes down. So there's a timer for Asian Invasion, 20 seconds until the dragon, and now Dunk is looking on Pika Pika, but they might have found Dunk, but he's going to go to the ultimate.
Yeah, Dunk getting taken crucially low here, but training back
Hong Kong
in the middle of 4 people. There's the rest of the dive coming on in. Seraphine under threat there, does get the shutdown. There's the Taric ultimate. Parry is going to be firing down onto Garvin, and this might have been the team fight they needed. It's going to be Lulu Fade, the last member to fall. Pika Pika forced to just base as well as they can. The double super wave you mentioned has crashed. The team fight has been won. They have found the ingredients they needed. Despite that brief stumble, it is going to be a 3-0 victory here for Apex Ways Moonlight.
Apex Ways Moonlight is your Shurima Division Grand Champion of Style Esports, our premier league from start to finish, Apex Ways Moonlight was the better team tonight, Potato, and they're going to walk away with a $700 cash prize, as well as being the winners of the Style Esports Shurima division.
Yeah, and what a performance it was. Asian Invasion came in as the first seeded team of the division, but Apex came to play tonight, showing a dominating victory in game one and game two. Game three, having a little bit more of a stumble, but closing out nonetheless with great performances by every member on this team.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you named, this was the number one seed that got taken down here, but right behind them was Apex Waves Moonlight. They were the victor after this series. They were able to just show up this evening. I mean, it was a hard fought victory from the losers bracket for Asian Invasion, but they made it all the way back to the grand finals. But there was still too much to deal with from Apex Waves Moonlight. I mean, man, yeah, games 1 and 2, like you said, Potato, were all Apex Waves. And in game number 3, it was close, it was hard fought, but the team fight that mattered the most went their way and got them that 3-0 victory.
Absolutely did, and a well-deserved victory it was. Congratulations to all these players for really excellently played series. Also, thanks to Asian Invasion for a very entertaining series of fights, bringing some really insane comebacks given the game states they were in. Unfortunately, not able to take a game tonight, but still fighting well.
Well, as we wrap up this series, let's go ahead and bring back Alternative to just take a reflection on the series and that game 3 in particular as we take a look at the victors of Apex Waves Moonlight. Alternative, what do you think here after game 3?
Yeah, I'm thinking a lot. I mean, I don't think Apex dropped a single game in the playoffs run that they had. They had an incredible run. All the players played really amazing, and it showed in this series. But I do want to give huge credit to Asian Invasion. I got glimpses of 2022 World's deft, unbreakable spirit in that third game.
Yes.
There was like, just picture this, right? You just came off of an incredible early team fight. You wipe 3 of their players, and then a big drunk frat boy comes into your team and 1v4s you and just turns the fight around, right? A weaker team would have completely gotten mental boomed. I would have gotten completely mental boomed, but
In game 3, yeah.
they stuck it out. They almost brought it back. They had incredible showings in all 3 games, even from behind. So I think both teams did an absolutely amazing job, and it was just such a joy to watch.
Yeah, it really was quite the grand final series here, even though it did end in a 3-0. And like you said, Apex Waves Moonlight all throughout had an amazing playoffs run here through the upper bracket. I mean, and well-deserved, felt like had some good adaptations, some great picks that they shown. I mean, some impressive stuff from this squad to be able to take that Season 15 Cup for the Shurima Division.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it was a joy watching their run throughout this series. So hopefully we'll see these teams again next season. I mean, these two teams have been consistent showers in the playoffs. And, every time they match up, it's a bit of a banger. So, this is not the end for Asian Invasion. I'm looking forward to what they can cook up next season.
Absolutely. But for myself, Llama, a la Potato, and Alternative, that is going to do it for us for this evening of Style Esports action. This was our grand finals of season 15 for our Shurima division. Other grand finals are getting played here soon. And then we will be on to season 16. So make sure that you keep an eye out for even more Styles Esports action next season. And we hope that you all have a great night.